Hey!
Hey, it's Thursday. Your
is.
boys, Adam and Brian, are here to lighten up the mood.
That is the truth. And
cheers. Should we cheers
we
before
should
we start?
cheers.
All right, cheers. Happy Thursday to all out there.
It's a happy Thursday, but it's also a somber Thursday for where we're at.
It's a somber Thursday for sure.
There's some things going on right now
in
our state, specifically, close to our city that has been really intense.
Yeah, just a bunch of fires and everything. I mean, we knew it was coming, right? Like, there was no way that you had the least amount of snowpack that you've had, since basically they started counting, measuring snowpack for this last winter, and then go into a summer that is hot and is already getting to, being 100 degrees, and it's barely even started summer. So yeah, a bunch of the state is on fire.
Yeah, but the locality of where it's at right now and the people that have been affected that I personally know has been something. So I just want to shout out to those that are affected, and we're doing what we can in certain cases. I know at my area, can't see the show. All right.
We'll have to...
can you refresh your screen there? Because
it seems like it should be going out. We're watching it.
We're watching it right now on our 20 different things that show the show. So let me take a look. If I'm looking at that.
Stealth, man, I appreciate you helping us out.
No, there it is.
Okay.
I'm seeing it.
All right. Okay.
Maybe.
Well, maybe it's just something happening on Stealth's end. Higley is in there. They're watching.
Oh, we got a little cheers out.
Oh,
so
man.
let's do that.
Sweet. Amazing.
That's for me, but 21 months.
Still 21 months.
I made the thing. All right.
Made it.
But yes, so in any case, I would say that it has been a bit of trying time for a lot of folks out here.
And amazing firefighters coming out from different states and all of that kind of good stuff, which has been comforting, and nice to see as well.
All right, we're checked it out on the phones. Looks like we're good. So if you're still not seeing it,
I had to share mine.
You're like, I had to show my 32 months.
My 32 months.
And where we're at. So
nice. So we do have a lot that we want to talk about on today's show. We're going to have an amazing news section that we'll talk about all the latest stuff. We have Colbert questionnaire questions to answer. The topic of the show this week was actually brought up from the chat at the end of last episode.
It was in the middle of the show.
Yeah,
it was perfect time.
It was great. I think this is the first time we've done that, haven't we? I think we might be a first.
I think we did ideas before, but this is the more we're taking
official.
That exact topic said on the show. That is our next topic confirmed. So Mike Azul, thank you for that one.
Yeah. And so what was, do we have his exact question of what it was?
I think it was if humans build artificial intelligence to obey us, what do we owe it? What happens if the thing that we control become? That was not what he said. He was thinking we're creating this intelligence that we're then
that we plan to control and enslave, basically, a higher intelligence that we're planning on doing. And what does that? What are we going to do about that? Which was incredibly, I feel like I loved this topic because all of the stuff that I was reading was philosophy stuff, and a lot of times when we do research, you're watching videos and are reading articles from the last 6 months or they're out of date. I was literally reading things from ancient philosophers for this show, which is fun.
You were doing a great job of that, and I went down the rabbit hole as well, looking at different angles. I think the consciousness area of AI was a rabbit hole that I found myself down, and it's really kind of interesting. I'm looking forward to having this conversation. Yeah. So, enslavement is a tough word to even use. So I just want to acknowledge that we're not going to use it in the or abuse it, because there's been some things that have happened in the history of humanity,
obviously.
And so we don't take it lightly as we use that word. But going through the idea that, hey, we're building something and we're controlling it, and is it even something we can control? And is it even right, ethical? Because is there a point that it becomes something more than just a tool?
Well, and it's so different, right? It's so different than all of the other things. It's not an animal. It's not a human. It's not any of those things. It's so different. So then, like, what do rights even look like for something that doesn't care maybe if it's caged or not, because it doesn't have legs? Anyway, lots of interesting stuff to talk about.
We're gonna hit it on for sure. So we got some news today, but
no,
we're gonna do
the only thing, because
Oh.
I want to tease
Okay.
Adam at the end of the show. At the end of the show, Adam has been doing some Claude co-working and has jumped into fully agentic, workflows for building stuff, and he's gonna walk us through some of it, which I feel like is exciting. So don't ditch out after the main topic, because you'll want to see that.
It's kind of unveiling the secret sauce a little bit, but it's really how we built Double Drop Down, the newest website. If you go there right now, you will see a brand new website that has been entirely coded with my co-assistant Claude using Cowork. And
Nice.
there's a new watch live right now. And actually, I'm really interested to see something because I haven't tested it out. What happens when the countdown is done? Okay, it says it stays at 000 across the board. I was curious if that's what it would do.
Okay.
All right, that's good. It's good to know. Good to know how that works.
All right. So we were doing questions for humans. This is our questions for humans section. We would love to hear people, in the chat, answer some of these. We moved on a little bit for the next few weeks to do the Colbert questionnaire, which in deference to Stephen Colbert didn't die, but his show did, and that is sad. And so we're going through and doing some of these questions. So we have 3 questions today from these. The first one, Adam, apples or oranges?
It's a great question, and I would say I appreciate apples. I eat a lot more apples than I do oranges.
Yeah. What apple? What kind of apple you rocking?
This is a good one. There's some debates, and I don't know if there's people in the chat that have their apple call outs.
Okay.
Somebody had told me, get this apple, it's the best.
Right.
And it was like Cosmic Crisp.
Cosmic Crisp?
It's not my favorite.
What is your favorite then?
It's a Pink Lady. I like Pink Ladies.
Interesting. What's I feel like it's been a while. I'm a Honeycrisp man.
Okay, Honeycrisp
myself.
are
Like
good.
Honeycrisp is what I'm rocking every time. It's been years since I feel like I've had anything else. What's a Pink Lady like taste
it's
profile?
sour. Has a sour. It has a fairly tough outer exterior.
Okay.
It still has the crunch to it.
Yeah.
It almost has a little bit of bumpiness to it. Not a lot, but if you get to like a Gala, which I also like, those are usually really shiny,
Right.
and like sometimes they have the smaller versions. So those are like the two, but I tend to go to Pink Ladies because of the sour.
I'm also gonna choose apples. I eat way more apples than I do oranges. We eat apples almost every single day at our house. We cut them up and put them on salads. I cut them up and put them in lunches. I just eat them straight out of the fridge. We go through bags of apples every time. But a good ass orange, woo, it's nice. That's why it's even like a discussion, right?
Well, in oranges, there is fun of peeling it off. There is the like.
So like I only buy little cutie oranges when I
yes.
can, and that's just the only reason that I even do about it is the enjoyment of the orange is how quickly and easily I can peel off the skin of the orange. Because if it takes me forever and I end up mangling the orange in the process, then I hate the orange and I end up like regretting even diving
Those
into
little
it.
cuties, like they don't even like attach themselves. It's like just the core, like you take
Whoever genetically engineered little cuties is a mad scientist.
I would love to know from the chat. Do you like
apples,
or
oranges,
oranges?
apples, oranges. Throw it up.
But here's the other thing: is that you don't necessarily have to peel the skin off an orange because you can cut it. Right?
Yeah, I suppose that's
like
true.
when you remember when you'd go to sports games and like
Yeah,
throw in your thing or
right.
you go on the run.
Exactly,
That
and you would
felt-
just have quarters or whatever of
Yeah.
it. Okay, next question. Have you ever asked someone for their autograph?
Yes, I have.
Yeah,
Multiple people.
multiple people. All right.
And had to pay for it.
Oh well, okay. Like at a Comic-Con or something.
And many of those for
nice,
sure.
Nice. Have you ever asked someone to just like you've seen someone out in real life or at some event where you weren't standing in line for said autograph?
I think there were some sports events. It was Daryl Strawberry.
Ooh,
I got
nice.
Daryl. I wish I had the thing, but
man, I'm surprised Adam Pocious does not have his Daryl Strawberry autograph.
I have it. I just don't know where it is.
Okay.
But I remember there was some like baseball kids event, and there was Daryl Strawberry, and I was like, "Holy crap! Is that Daryl Strawberry?"
You were just he was there for the kids event.
He was in for the event, but he wasn't like actively like signing things, and it was in a time where. It's believe it or not, I actually collected baseball cards and cared about that, and I knew who he was, and then so it was like, can you sign
you recognize him in street clothes?
Yes. It was awesome.
That it's funny. My only one is also a baseball player.
Really?
Like, so I had asked for autographs at baseball games where they're just signing a million things and you just hand them whatever and they sign it, right? I've done that before. But the only time where I've ever been out in real life and recognized what I considered to be a celebrity was in the Dallas airport with my wife, Catherine, and we're walking through the airport and we're just sort of waiting around for our thing. And I turn around and I see what is now Hall of Fame designated hitter for the Seattle Mariners, Edgar Martinez, sitting there talking to someone. And Edgar Martinez was like a designated hitter and a third baseman for the Mariners. And he was my brother's favorite player growing up. Mine was Ken Griffey Jr. and his was Edgar Martinez. And I was like, and I remember saying to Kathy, I was just staring at him. I was like, holy shit. Holy shit. And she was like, what? She was like concerned that something was happening. And I was like, that's Edgar Martinez. And she was like, okay, whatever. So I went over and I had a business card of the place that I worked at. And it was blank on one side. And I was like, hey, I went up to him and I was like, hey, are you Edgar Martinez from the Mariners? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, huge fan, grew up watching you. I was like, can you sign this? So he signed it. And then I walked away. And then I was like, you know what? Is my brother even going to believe me that I talked with Edgar Martinez? I mean, maybe he would because I would have this random signature. But I was like, I was like, Kathy, take our picture. Okay. And so I walked up to him again and I was like, I hate to bug you again. This is stupid. But like, could I get a picture of me and you like to do it? And so Kathy took it with her little throwaway camera or like a point and shoot camera. And she had it on like nighttime mode.
Oh!
And like, it was all blurry and terrible because, it's like, anyway. And so we didn't get the actual picture. And then he like very much walked away as quickly as possible after I had gone up to him the second time.
After doubled up. Yeah. Oh, so my God.
That was the only person I've ever asked for. Okay, last one.
Oh God, you said this one's like.
This is the intense one. This is the intense one. What do you think happens when we die?
Oh man. So I guess in this particular area, like your body gets pulled back into the earth, and there's nothing.
Okay.
There's nothing.
So that's it. It's just like it's out and it's deep.
Yeah.
Dreamless sleep or whatever.
Yeah. And that's my thoughts.
I feel like I was wondering if because you have had religious, like backgrounds and times when you had been more or less religious in your entire life. So I was wondering if there was, because that's obviously mine. I have thought that for many years,
For sure.
Yeah, it's just out, and that's why you have to live this life in, such the amazing way that we all can. Because I'm not looking for some like glorious afterlife, but I was interested to see if that was yours. So interesting.
I would say I was very much, if we want to go into like expose a little bit of this, because like then it's like pretty quick to just say, hey, that's the thing.
Sure.
Is that in earlier life, of course, you're brought up, you're almost indoctrinated into the religions that your parents are in, and so I went into this gray period where I always called my middle ground, where I just didn't know what was going on in my life. And I remember a moment where it like cleared up and I'm like, this is what I believe. This is fairly what I believe.
Okay.
But there is like a version of it where I'm like, we are part of everything all at once. It's just like we're little pieces of consciousness of whatever this bigger thing is. And so we're still part of it. We're just eventually going to go back and not have the consciousness that we've had. So it's like, it's our moment to help make sure whatever this big part of this thing is, like has the energies, positive, negative, that kind of push us forward and do things. And we go back to nothingness.
I love that. You know, I mean,
yeah, live your life.
Yeah, exactly. That's why you got to be good. You know, that's the way you got to do good things and move forward. You don't need a higher person telling you that. But anyway, okay, awesome. I feel like that goes into even the discussion we're going to have today. You're talking about consciousness.
Well, and it also, I think so too. And I think it goes into some of the thoughts I've had on life as well, of being like, if we are in these bodies, how do you preserve things? So one things that you always give me like grief about is like I collect things, and it is a thing. Like I have some maybe a little bit of attachment to things in certain ways, but it's not in the attachment to the thing. It's more of the imbued memories of the thing. Like I have a bag for every time that we partied through our like that has like a wrapper from that party, from a beer or a bottle cap. And it was like, so I have this thing of like, this was all the times that we connected. And so like, I don't necessarily know, like I was at this year or that thing, but I don't know, something about that.
No, I feel like some of it is rubbed off on of you is rubbed off on me in the little bit, not necessarily for things, but like, I mean, I do the 1 second today videos, right? Which are like so fun to look back and see what we were doing and get the little hit of nostalgia about it and have like a record that you can go back. I'm just like, you know, I can't keep that much stuff in our house. 2 people in our house can't be hoarders.
I am in a and see, I would say I'm borderline hoarder because I go through what I would consider like purgings. And what I'll do is like, there's a certain things I'm like, I'm going to like maintain this little thing, but I can get rid of all the stuff around that thing. So you're like, yeah, I could give this up. My son just like purged his room essentially. And so I went through and there was things that I was like, yeah, this has use. I'm going to give it away to someone else. And this thing, it is a dumb, stupid plastic toy. I can throw this away.
Yeah, exactly. Or give that to Goodwill or whatever.
I mean, there's a threshold where I'm like, this is not even good to give enough away at this stage. It's bad.
Nice. All right, should we jump into the news?
I do think we should.
Yeah, because there's some good news stuff.
From the Hangout, it's the news with Adam and Ryan.
We need to put that little sound effect in there for sure.
It's a good one. All right, what are we starting out with news style? Oh, a good one from the Discord. If you are interested and want to hang out with us and pose questions and things like that, we are hanging out at the Double Drop Down Discord channel. Please join us. This first one came out yesterday, today, I think maybe.
It was today, and it was also like you were saying. Like I like the idea that we're sourcing from our Discord, and we have some ideas of how we might be able to do more of that.
Right, even better sourcing from our fans. This one, really interesting. So it says there's a rumor going around, and nothing confirmed now or anything about that OpenAI is in talks with the current United States government administration to give them a 5% stake in OpenAI. So OpenAI likely to go public, probably end of this year, in the next few months, maybe the beginning part of next year. At some point, OpenAI is going to go public, and it's going to be another one of those $1 trillion, companies at that point, and all of the ramifications that go with, doing that. But guess what? You get a ton of money, in that, what you're going to do. And, there has so in the Discord, there was definitely a little bit of like, oh man, great. Let's give the notoriously corrupt Trump administration 5% stake in this biggest boom of business that the United States has seen in decades, if ever. And that seems like could be a bad thing, right? I don't necessarily trust the current administration as far as I could throw them, but I do think, just to give a counter sort of argument, and then I'll let Adam get into some of maybe the specifics here, but just, I do like the idea of perhaps a public fund being created that you could then say, hey, we're all kind of getting to enjoy the benefits of a new technology that is coming forward and going to radically change everything. And it was built in America with American people and American ideas and trained on a lot of American data. And maybe we should get some of that in some kind of pool of funds that we could all draw from or be given to, or have way more stuff given to us than we normally would. And so I like that idea. It's almost just, who do you trust to give out that money or use those resources in the right way that benefits humanity. I don't know if it's large companies, and I don't know if it's the current administration, and I don't know what administration I would necessarily trust.
And I would say that's where I would have maybe take it is that yes, we may have our comments on this administration, but is any administration, it changes hands so much.
Totally.
Where does this go?
Right.
And I'm not going to say either side, one or the other it's not an equal kind of balance. Maybe one would do more than another, but still it's like just the idea that would be in that space. But that is also a bigger conversation that like, we are basically ceding the power to all these bigger organizations at this point, and they're controlling this. If they control the major AI things, do we have control from a governmental level? But what I guess why this matters, it blurs that line between like the bigger tech, national security, in the ownership in the public side of the house. So I don't know if it gives like too much power over the government. I think the thing that I'm concerned about is the surveillance that it can have with that. Think about how much people have already probably put into ChatGPT, because that's what we're talking about, OpenAI at this point.
Right.
And that amount of data has now maybe accessible from the governmental standpoint.
You're absolutely true, you're absolutely right. But like at some point, you're going to have this company. These companies, the AI companies, are not that big of companies. They have hundreds of employees, not even thousands probably of employees, hundreds. And so the only people where you're getting all of this wealth are hundreds of tech people in small pockets in Silicon Valley, and then whoever has the money to invest in them in the stock market. Like that can't be where all of the wealth for this amazing technology goes towards. And so in that case, like it has to go back to the people, and the only way right now that we have to disseminate money and do a big thing sort of large and overall is the government. Like that's it, right? And so if you don't like the way the Trump administration is using the AI money, vote against the Trump administration, right? And the next thing, anytime you need to vote, you got to do it. It's like that's the only way that we have to do it right now. Maybe it's some kind of wealth fund that is governed by someone that isn't an administration, but then who do you trust? How do we know that those people are doing it good and aren't just some shady wing of something? The Heritage Foundation, I don't necessarily want like controlling the AI wealth fund, the public wealth fund. I don't know.
I feel like at this point it's an interesting development. The idea that the government should the public get ownership stake in companies building world-changing AI?
Right. Yeah.
Probably. It's been built on the knowledge of the public. It's been built on our knowledge. So I just think that there's some shadiness with this, and the pictures that you're looking at Altman and Trump hanging out together at the table.
Not good look. Or not for me, it isn't.
No, I'm not excited about that. Well, let's take a pivot. We don't want to talk too much about AI. We will get into AI and maybe embodied AI and some of this topic of consciousness soon here. This one was really interesting to me. It was, if you hadn't heard, Claude Science has now come out.
Yeah.
And so to me, this one was something that was really interesting because Anthropic, who makes Claude, they came out with this beta AI. It's this workbench for scientists. And so it's only available in certain plans for their beta. But what it essentially does is it's combining a lot of the tools that they've had out there that have been disparate. So like database, they said coding, computing, like workflows, all into one app. And so here's where it gets a little kind of weird, is that it's going to help with creating probably like pharmaceuticals. It's going to help with research. It's going to help with these other components that typically go through a lot of peer-reviewed articles and citations and work that's over and over and over. And so we're getting to this point where we're now doing scientific study with using AI. And there's a lot of back and forth. There's like pros and cons, and people are like, oh my God, this is not going to be the right way to move forward. We talked way earlier on, like with AI 2027, where it's like somebody builds a biological weapon.
Right.
Did we just make the easier tool to get to that? Now, okay, I'm sure there's some safeguards and ways to make sure that happens. But it's pretty interesting that we're starting to get to ones that are more honed in on specific fields, specifically science.
Well, and I like the idea when I was looking through this, like, I like the idea, they say like a lot of research science and like the bottlenecks that end up happening is you have all these different types of data, and it's from different things, and it's from proprietary tools, and it's from all this disparate way of like, you know, bringing in data and having it available to everyone. And so you just end up not being able to do it because my system doesn't interact with your system, that you gathered this, and our databases don't talk, and all of that kind of stuff can be sort of, I mean, that is the nice thing about AI, is it can just kind of go in and figure out a system and know what you want to pull out of it, and then go into a completely different. It doesn't have to be trained in any of those ways. So even if it's not doing all the research and doing all the everything, even if it's just sort of streamlining the process of it, that'll just make it faster and better for actual scientists who are going in there and doing the hard stuff.
And one thing I appreciate about it is that there is a little bit of rails on some of it. And so I work in IT, and I actually work in educational IT. And so if you know what an HPC is, it's high or performance clusters, or high, there's like basically a high performance computing. And so what that means is you have these like really big computer sets that are also very much like locked down because of the research that's happening on that. And what you don't want is that to get out. Like if you're doing some really crazy research, sometimes it's like also very sensitive. You're working on like diseases or working on cures or things that could like really harm humanity should something go out. You don't want it to get out. So you can run it with local labs and those data sets where it does not leave the system. So I feel like if you have those safeguards in place, it could like speed it up. I know some of the skeptics are like, you still need that human review and all the different things that you need to go through. Others are like, yep, it's going to go faster. We'll see where this goes. I would just say that I have some thoughts on the future of where AI is going in a general sense. So we're seeing a lot of IPOing of different companies. Yeah. And what that indicates is that the industry has said, all right, we've probably like milked everything out. We need to start making money on this thing in a way. It's starting to lose its luster. But one of the things that I think that's recently come out, and this is just a hot take we can take for a later discussion, is that we've been talking about frontier models, the big players, the OpenAIs, the Claudes out there, and how they've been leveraging their systems. And they're like, yep, you got to basically cloud use our system, and we're going to pay, you have to pay for tokens, right? Right. And so if you think about these new systems that are doing things with science and all this other stuff, it's going to be a lot of money that you have to invest in it. Well, there's our companies like AMD. I know they're kind of a competitor to some of these other companies. They're finding smaller ways, like you can buy a $1,500 computer that can run a multi-billion parameter AI model. Right. And so think about some of these things where, like, let's say you could get your hands on a model that does science and now have it on a little computing device that you can have in your house. Yeah, exactly. It changes the game in a lot of different ways. And that's maybe where things start to get a little bit different, because if it gets out of the controls, we might have some issues coming forward. That's true. That's true. All right, this next one, Ryan, tell me about it.
Oh, I just thought this one was interesting because, you know what, like we talk a lot about, like we're looking at creativity, right? And sort of like Adam and I, when we worked together, the big thing was sort of flow, getting into a flow state. And, that is just like the way that you're doing something that's sort of challenging, but not so challenging that you're getting frustrated, but something that builds on your skills that you're going towards. And I'm always interested in that kind of like way that your brain works on that. And so what this new research was doing is that it was taking a bunch of like jazz pianists, and they were like, all right, you can normally play these songs. And so they hooked them up to MRI machines, and they were like, go and play these normal songs that you already know. And they were like, oh, okay, certain parts of their brains flashed up, right? But then they did sort of the now just kind of riff on stuff, like the sort of jazz where, there's not a specific thing. You're just kind of going with the flow of the theme and the whatever that you're doing. And what they said is that, like, not that it opens up or ignites some sort of certain part of your brain for that, but what it does do is it blocks a certain part of your brain from working. And that's the part of your brain that does like organization and, making sure that you're hitting all the right things at the right moments and all of that. Like it sort of it shuts that part down so that what is actually going through is just sort of your muscle memory and your training that you've done over like, you know, the decades that these, you know, musicians were practicing their art. And what it does is sort of says, okay, just let that part take over, you know? And so a lot of what this research is saying that like, yes, if you can kind of allow that part of your brain to sort of shut down and not have that be in the way, that your sort of subconscious brain that just has all of that like training and you know repetitive creating of something before will sort of take over, and then that is where you get into that sort of like very creative flow, is sort of blocking off one part of it, which I thought was, you know, really interesting way of thinking about that, you know, especially I mean people have been doing that for years with like drugs and sleep deprivation.
I was gonna
and
say
things like that, like artists do that, right? So that you could sort of shut off kind of the, you know, the artists are to, you know, like you know, alcoholics sometimes and things like that. But I could see that, right? You're sort of trying to shut down that part of your brain that goes like, no, do it this way, and say, no, just let my entire brain that sort of has learned this art flow. And I thought that was cool.
I like this discussion, and you know, it makes me think about that sleep one that we talked about, where people like wake up in a like a stupor essentially, and it also reminds me of times when there's a really difficult task that we're doing, and you like bring it to your like here and now brain, and you can't get it. And then you go to bed and you come back and it's like now been processed and like taken into your subconscious. And now you're able to do the thing that you weren't able to do because it's like now part of who you are. So I love this.
Nice. So anyway, I just thought that was a fun, creative one, you know, not as techy.
Well, I think that's the hard part. And like, how do you stop yourself from thinking so you can access that part of your brain?
Yeah. I mean, you know, I imagine there's some kind of maybe like without drugs, say you don't want to stay up for 72 hours to paint your next painting or do something creative. I mean, I imagine there are like meditation things that you can do, right? Or ways to maybe distract your brain. I don't know.
It seems like the forced creative to me is it can't be forced. It's not something that you can push towards, right? I mean, you can have creative insights and skills that you bring to the table, but like I sometimes when you sit there and you're like, I'm gonna write this thing or I'm gonna draw this thing, you sometimes like, I don't even know what I'm gonna draw, and then you start like overthinking. I need to do this. Oh, that does not look right. Sometimes you just like disassociate.
Adam and I were talking about going and playing golf, and I was like, you know what I always do with golf? I always do great for the first like 4 or 5 holes that we play because I just go, who knows? I just let sort of muscle memory take over. But then I do terrible in the second half of playing golf because I start getting in my own head and thinking about how much, you know, I could be better if I, you know, held my arm a little straighter. And then that project management side of my brain comes over and I do terrible after that. So.
That sounds good. Hey, stop using AI.
Nice.
What are your perfect Sundays? We do talk about AI, but we're on both sides of the fence here. So it's we talk about the good, we talk about the perfect Sundays. I mean, it's just like vanilla and caramel for me, right? Is that a Sunday?
I was thinking, you know, I go and hang out at the pool. Maybe it's like a perfect Sunday.
I got you. I see Nightbot's decided to show up again. Finally, there we go. Nightbot.
Finally, Nightbot joins the chat.
Caramel is delicious. You know what I would say with
as a kid, I was a huge caramel.
And I was always a sucker for those ones from Dairy Queen where you dip it and it had like the hard caramel shell on it.
I love that.
And then lately I'm into caramel sundaes. I've not been like a big like Starbucksy kind of guy, and I usually make my own coffees and things, but I did get somehow into freaking Dutch Brothers lately, and they've made these like caramel lattes that I absolutely love, where they put the like caramel at the bottom and you get there and it's so delicious.
Dutch Brother, I found, is not about coffee. It's about sugary drinks. It's calling themselves Dutch Brothers Coffee, as I feel like not truthful at all. It's like it should be
there.
Dutch Brothers milkshakes, basically.
Yeah. Blizzards. Oh my God. I mean, yes,
Blizzard.
blizzards are really good too. But I usually get the cheesecake blizzards where it's like this like core of cheesecake inside there, and then put caramel on it. You don't like cheesecake?
Not a cheesecake Blizzard fan.
Oh
no.
my God.
Blizzard's good,
I'm
though.
big into this. So.
All right, next topic, Adam.
So this section gets into a little bit of just some video game stuff, and it's all influenced recently by a couple things. It's by cloud computing. It's also by a lot of the increases to all the different technology, like the RAM and the storage that are happening. So these next couple stories like hit onto this. So Ryan, you put this one, but PlayStation to stop releasing games on disc in 2028. Honestly, like I kind of thought that they already stopped doing this already. I think the discs that you open to game systems, they're just basically like a link to go to get the download online anyway. It doesn't really like, I don't know. So tell me a little bit more about this one.
So I agree, right? Like Xbox tried this when they released the last Xbox One, when they released the Xbox One, they tried it, they were just like, we're going straight, no discs. You just download your games. And people went, what about people with no internet and what, all of that. And they went, well, you can keep it 360. But so PlayStation is coming out sort of forward and being like, we're not gonna make discs anymore. I mean, you're right. A majority of that is just sort of you're downloading maybe an initial thing of it from the disc. The only bad thing is I would say one, it sucks for people who want to like trade games, right? Like I remember you and we would used to buy a game and then we would trade it with each other and say, yeah, like check this out. We did this one, and if it came out a couple of years ago, that was fine. I could grab your disc and play it. And even download the patches and everything. If I had the disc in the machine, it was sort of like you could trade it with me and then I could download all that stuff as if I had just bought it. So no used market. They're basically saying like you're taking out the used market, right? Anything there. So, I mean, that seems sort of crappy. And then I would also just say like the moment that you put everything into the cloud is the moment that sort of preservation of video games takes a dip, right? Like, I mean, the same thing is happening with movies and TV. Like, you can't buy Netflix series on DVD. Like, you watch them on Netflix. And then if Netflix decides that they don't want you to ever watch that ever again, then they can pull it down and that's it, And so it's sort of bad for kind of like the historical preservation side of it.
I hate that part. I would say that's my biggest beef with a lot of this.
Yeah.
I would say that the current game market doesn't seem like that it works. Like I tried to play an offline game that had the game on it and it still was requiring me to at least have an internet connection to play.
So say I let you borrow. Say if I had a disc of, the latest Call of Duty and I let you borrow that, it wouldn't know that was my disc of Call of Duty.
No.
So it would then let you, so if you had the internet,
right,
you could download all the patches and you could do the stuff and you would be able to play it for a while as my friend, me letting you borrow that, right?
No, that makes
which
sense.
we can't do now.
No.
Or which we won't be able to do in 2028.
I think it's the preservation angle. Like it seems like bad that and that's also why they do the thing.
Exactly. So. That's why it's going to go away. I imagine it's, it hits a certain threshold where people don't care about it as much anymore and it can make them slightly more money. And so they went, yay, let's do it.
So just
speaking of that,
going into this, I just wanted to make a note, and I don't know if stop using AI is still out there, if they just did a little flyby. We will be talking about consciousness and AI and some of the things that we're going to get into. We are in our news segment. That since you're new to the show, we typically do a little bit of news. Then we have a main section where we're able to dive into some of the
deeper topic.
The deeper topic. Well, we're going to spend some time on that one soon. So we're talking about, can you enslave something that's smarter than you? Is there some sort of AI or something?
It's like AI personhood, right?
Absolutely. Right. We are getting there, but we're not there yet. But we want to get these high level news articles that have come out. So this one though is Xbox prices going up. I mean, Steam machine prices are high.
Oh man.
Oh.
So this was a big thing in our Discord too. It was like they came out with what the prices of those Steam machines are. I didn't write them down in here. What is it like? $1,000, $1,500 for the high end version, and then Xbox came out and they were like, hey, we're upping everything. We're upping things by $100, $75 for the smaller ones. I mean, if you bought a, Series X, couple of years ago, man, it's an investment, opportunity now at this point.
You can sell it. People are going to go buy them all and try to resell them.
I don't know. It just shows the thing of like, yes, AI is eating up all of this, computer parts that we're talking about, and it's affecting everything.
Yeah, and they're like, go build a PC, but yeah, is the PC even something that you can get anymore?
You just built a PC.
I did.
And it was, what, 30-40% more probably than it would have been, a year and a half ago.
And I got a lesser version of a PC because I had to pay more for parts of it.
Yeah, you didn't want to buy a $10,000
no
desktop.
But the thing was too is I absolutely desperately needed it.
Yeah, that's tough. And because it's one of those things where it's like when you need it, right? And that's it. So you got to pay for it. Now, video game consoles, on the other hand, like the Xbox and the Steam Machine, I feel like, maybe you could go, wait a year for those. So I wonder how well those things start selling now that they've had all these huge price hikes.
Well, and here's my bigger fear, and it kind of plays back into the PlayStation conversation, is like there's going to be a moment where they're going to it's really high to pay these console fees, right? Like just get a subscription to play games on the internet. Right? Like, why do you need a console?
I mean, I have Xbox Game Pass, so
yeah.
I'm already paying for that and had to pay $500 for an Xbox.
But that's my point. Is like, think about that. Is that now you're just subscribing to being able to play, there is not going to be a physical part. Yeah. Like even computers, they're going to be like, see, it's so expensive. Just take your computer subscription online. You never have to upgrade or do any of that on your
internet
own.
Will be fast enough. You'll be able to just, there are a few games that I play over, the Microsoft cloud version where you don't have to download anything. It's worked okay. I don't know. It's just bad. It's bad for certain.
Yeah. I want to physically own it when the apocalypse happens, that I'm going to be playing Fallout on my little computer in my room, okay, with my generator burning the gas.
Exactly.
And
everything pre-2027 and before is what you can play, apparently, at that point.
That's good. All right. Mike Azul. I wish you were here, but he's not today. So if you're watching the VOD, we put this one in for you. This is almost a double drop down after dark for you. Yeah. I want to put some caveats on this. It's a very family show. But board game AI sex doll, what?
I saw this in the Discord, and I was just like, I don't even know what where's Nightbot in our Discord? I'm gonna have to start sicking Nightbot on it. Now this is funny. Once you explained it to me, I thought it was good.
No, this one was good. And so you got to know that some of our folks in Discord, join our Discord, by the way, if you're not part of that. We have some really fun stuff that's going on, and we have a lot of good conversations with each other. But there was a post about a $2,000 AI-powered board game sex doll. And so what the joke, though, was that there was a gentleman that goes and he purchases this sex doll, not for anything explicit, but to have as a partner to play board games with.
And they're just, friends, with benefits. It's a board game extra with benefits.
So if you watch the show, Deadpan talks to this sex doll as though they're a partner in a board game, and they're working through it, trying to see, can you push it to be able to have the interactions in the board game. And part of the reason that this was done is to say that we're going so far along with the development of AI and embodied AI in certain cases that it is being integrated in things. Of course, it would start with sex bots, but they put it into this one and then tried to leverage its skills and its AI version to play a board game. And so he just plays into the discussions that are happening as a voice system, and there's responses that
so
happen.
it has voice.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It doesn't move its mouth, I assume. Well, it can move its mouth, but not maybe spelling out words. But it can't move its hands. It's not
moving its pieces.
It's not moving its pieces, but it's sort of saying, I don't know, is it looking at the board? I imagine it would have to look at it to play. Take the sex doll part out of this.
Right.
If there was some kind of companion human thing that could play board games with us, I feel like that's a fun, interesting thing. Can LLMs with the camera looking at the board tell you what part it wants to move? And maybe you have to move it for it, but it could play there and be your second player. That's cool.
Ooh, baby, that piece is so big.
Yeah, exactly.
You want me to move it?
And so it's still trying to use its LLM that's trained to be a sexy like sex doll, but play Pandemic with you. I love it.
The thing that struck me with this one and why I really wanted to put it on the number one, we're talking about the news you post in Discord, so give us that news. Totally. But number two was the concept that we're starting to like look at these things as companions.
Yeah.
We're starting to have embodied AI and things that you could go purchase for a relatively
don't have to be a millionaire to purchase a $2,000 sex bot.
No. And we've seen some other robots that are out there recently that are, within the $5,000 to $10,000 range that may not have the parts of, our little friend here and our board game companion. But the idea that within probably the next 5 years that we could purchase a companion AI robotic kind of presence that could be in our homes, maybe have that visual that you're talking about, have that conversation. Because I think one of the funny parts is that some people, I was looking in the chat of that video, they're like, my wife hates when I play board games. They just hate it. And they're like, I want like these so I could play board games and they wouldn't complain about it and we would be able to jump in and I'd have a great time. And you kind of need like another person to be able to play board games or another personhood. We'll talk about
this. Yeah, exactly.
So I thought that one was really interesting.
That's fun. I like that one.
All right, Ryan, you got to give me this one about AIs owning companies. Tell me more.
Yeah, so the Argentinian government was basically like, hey, we have limited liability companies. We have corporations that can be seen as individuals, like America has done that, Mitt Romney telling people that corporations are people's friend. Take the election for him. But so this Argentinian, I think the president or actually, I don't know. But like he was saying basically that they're going to start like going down the road of allowing companies to be owned by AI agents and that they could make money and that they could own corporations and that they could be entrepreneurs and just make it easier for them to like get loans and own things and do stuff. And I was like, man, that sort of tickles the little thing in the back of my head that goes, yikes, is that where we're at already? I mean, I guess there's some kind of precedent for company being an individual, right? Like a limited liability company, like that's what you're saying. You're like, that company is its own thing. And if it's going to get sued, go sue the company, not me. And so in that way is like, there's not as much liability and you can, distance yourself from the thing. But if like an AI owns the company, you're distancing, there's nothing, there's no person to punish when the company does something bad. There's no stakeholders in the company to do. I don't know, that feels it felt like it went with our comment that we're doing today and like man came out this week and I was like, whoa,
it's way too far ahead.
Yeah,
I feel like there's no accountability in this. Yeah. It seems like it could run amok, and like you said, it's like it just ruined. Like, okay, what if it's highly successful and it's like, yep, we're gonna what would say like fire all these people. We're gonna continue doing this. We're gonna abuse this kind of the side of it, and there's who stops it at that point.
Yeah, right. Well, and then it could be like, okay, well, we're spending all of our money on legislation, like lobbying people and building data centers, right? And so it just starts going in and doing all of this, construction and hiring people to build more data centers for itself. It feels like that kind of like early, AI takes over, right?
We need to develop like legal systems and other things before this becomes anything that even is considered in this way. And it's way too early. There's got to be human accountability in these pieces. It is, and that is my hot take. Like I don't accept that in any capacity. Like I hate the idea of that right now.
Stop using AI in the chat said, how far does AI have to go until people care? There was an article that came out this week and it was it was talking about how they were saying like, we think there's going to have to be some kind of mass casualty event that is caused by AI for people to be able to like rein it in like that. And I was like, man, you're a dick, but you're not wrong. You know, like it probably will have to be something like that for people to start paying attention enough to it. It can't just be sort of, you know, latent job loss and stuff like that. Crazy.
No, I think that's a good point. And again, and right now, AI, I think, is kind of like influencing a lot of people to do things that are not great. We're seeing the psychosis that we've like continually talked about with it. We're just pushing forward so damn hard.
So
These
fast.
like tech bros are constantly like, let's get to this super intelligence, and it feels like disregard for anything. And stop using AI. If you have not seen the AI 2027, you should check that out. It's
interesting.
a very good read.
You know what's funny? I emailed that or linked that to 2 people this week in my life. Like,
That's good. Look up AI 2027.
Mike Shipley posted some things on there, and I was like, "Have you seen AI 2027?" It was interesting. So, anyway,
not a good.
no, not an
good.
optimistic future in 2027.
I like that the story behind that is that they just leaned into the bad version, and they're like, oh, "Man, this is really depressing.
Let's gotta do a
possible one." The worst part is that it's like it's almost happening very similarly.
I was thinking about doing a YouTube short being like, where are we at AI 2027? Because we're halfway through 2026, you know, like let's take a look. How much of it is true?
Feels like it's happening. All right. So we got one bit on the show recently.
Last one. Yeah. This is a new thing. I feel like this is a cornerstone of the news section at this point.
It's your new thing.
What is fun robot video of the week? Because I feel like there is always one. Now, a lot of times when we post these, I will look at ones that Adam has. We will do one. Now, one of yours that you picked, I feel like you got tricked. You got tricked, Adam.
Oh, I did.
Yeah. Should we look?
Was it AI? Was it AI?
Yeah.
It was AI. AI.
We should. Now we gotta show it though.
Oh, we're showing it.
Like,
wait, are they all? Is it this one?
I don't know. It's not that one.
It's this one.
It's that one.
Okay. Okay.
Because I looked at it and I went, is that a real thing?
Maybe I knew it was AI, Ryan.
Tricking me. All right. I think we should watch all 3 of these.
All right. We'll do the short form video first, since it's a little harder to see.
You're just gonna mute it, right?
Yeah, it's already muted. All right. We're gonna take a look at this. You're all ready for this?
Ready.
All right. I turn the damn things off. Okay.
Okay.
Here we go.
Full size? Do you have full size?
That's it.
Oh,
this is
like a piece fell off of it right there.
I saw that. But still, okay. This is terrifying.
This upside down gun on the top of this.
It's a little bouncy, not accurate. But the fact that it's like, I'm going to just run these stairs and I'm going to like go and strafe back and forth and be able to like murder people.
Oh, man.
That is absolutely terrifying.
Yes. Yeah, there's just how quickly it's just moving around and checking out things and pointing that gun wherever it wants.
Combat wolf. What falls off? I did find that was funny because like
I think it's a piece of the gun. Actually.
It can't be a real gun for sure.
I assume not.
But the fact that it could do that is like it goes beyond the fear that I had with Terminators, because Terminators were slow moving bipedal
like human things. It's chasing you and everything. Not
absolutely terrifying. I'm sorry. Okay,
that one was not AI, which is actually pretty terrifying.
Are we ready for Adam's trick?
Adam's trick.
I just thought this one was funny.
Yeah.
They take your job and they take your girl.
You know, and the reason that I was like, this has got to be AI, right? Is because robots do not move that smoothly yet.
Right.
Like every time you see the one where it's like, here's a girl robot, you know, from Japan or China or something like that. And it's walking down and it'll intercut it with AI clips of it. And you could just tell because the robot still moves in a jerky, human way. Like there's the uncanny valley of it, and this one has no uncanny valley. Like this could be a stripper bot, you know? Whereas I feel like real bots are not good enough at that point. So here's what I Googled. I was like, I'm just gonna Google it, and I said fake or AI generated video of robot dancing, and this is the first thing that
This
came
is number
up.
one?
This was the number one thing, and it was a Reddit post that was like, this is not AI, or this is AI, right? And everybody being like, yep, AI.
So I absolutely did not. I did get
Fell
tricked.
for it.
I fell for it. But I also didn't really like look at it. But nowadays I look at it multiple times. Like when it kicks its little leg up, like the balance on that thing and the way that the camera is.
What is that thing in the background behind it? Like what is that? It's supposed to be like at a trade show or something. But what even is that? There's like a guy in the background on the left that never moves.
So one thing I would say though is they did come out, and I should have grabbed that video of a robot walking very convincing.
Oh, what was the headline? Like 94% accurate to human walk or something like that. I feel like was the headline that I saw. I mean, right. I guess. Okay, so this one I found.
You're like it's clearly not
AI. And what this is just for anyone listening to the podcast who can't see the visuals of this, it's just a tiny little robot that sort of follows you around.
Didn't we see this before?
No, well, maybe. But like what this one is that I thought was cool is that it's about taking video, and it just sort of you have a watch, right? You have a thing, and so what it does is it knows to follow your watch around, and then it films what you're doing. And I can see that. So high school Ryan would have loved this thing, and for one reason only, and that would be like awesome skate video stuff, right?
Goodness, yes.
So imagine like you're at the skate park or you're at a thing, and it's like following you down the rail, and and it's on the sidewalk, and it's showing you grinding something and then jumping off something. You can go downstairs. I was like, oh man, that would have been catnip for high school Ryan. And I was like, yeah, that thing looks neat, right? Like I could see, I like in the future the idea of like maybe a little drone following you around and recording things for you. I think that could be interesting, and then sort of cutting it together into a video of your day. This is another one where I was like, oh, that'd be fun if we were at the park and the kids and I were at the park and it was just taking video, and then I don't think it does this, but like stitch it all together into a cool thing of our day at the park. That could be neat.
I mean, it's you think of these videos and they likely are showing the best moments of
100%.
And like, think how much time it's going to take to say like, follow me in this way or do this route. Like, how does it even know to go that route? Or
because I think it's following you, right?
Well, I get that, but like to get a cool version of that route.
But I guess like it's following you and it knows where you are, right? So it's sort of like pointing
$799, $800,
$800, which I don't feel like is crazy. It pointing at you. I would love to see what actual videos look like coming out of this thing.
That
showing? Isn't like
was that what
I mean, showing? Those were but that was in like the promo. So I would love to see somebody who actually does this and was like, hey, I tried to shoot a video of me, navigating this half pipe with the little BMO or whatever he is. Benny the robot. Benny the robot.
I don't know.
He can flip himself over and so I don't know.
I mean, cool. It looks cool. It's like,
cool.
What's the difference between like a drone can probably do almost all of those things.
But it's like the low angle of it, and you don't have to. I mean, I guess there are drones, right, that follow you.
Yeah,
like I've seen snowboarding ones, right, where you have a little thing. He has a hat.
Come on now. That's freaking.
So
can
cute.
we go back to that watch? I hate that watch. I hate it. He puts
the hat on, and it just like magnetizes to the head, which is fun.
That's probably a thing that it does.
Yeah.
Like I want to see.
The watch is stupid. The watch looks like a Fisher Price watch.
That you have. Look at that thing.
Lame.
Boo. So you turn it on.
It's like a Wii U controller.
That looks terrible. Like, okay, all right. Well, anyways, I appreciate that, and I like that.
100% real though.
I like that I was tricked. I like that I was tricked. I was in a desperent mode, and
you were like, I gotta find some robot videos.
Actually, I didn't. I saw that, and I was like, that's fun.
Sweet.
I did, and I didn't do my homework. So you're absolutely right. I should be called out on that, Ryan. I should be
flagellized for it.
Absolutely. Buy Benny the robot. Bring him in. Get the video of this. Smack some rubber bands on my back. That's what I deserve for that kind of bull crap.
He's just circling around you with the craziest video you've ever seen of Adam getting whipped.
Yeah,
maybe.
Well, I would be interested in to see how this I mean, I'm like, I've got an itching to purchase a robot,
Oh.
like that has AI capabilities. And I had looked at the ones
Humanoid robot? Are you looking for humanoid
any
robot?
kind that can traverse like stairs and things like that. I was looking at the Boston Dynamics dog robot. Oh, those are so freaking expensive.
Are they?
Like, if you want to get the good one, like $100,000.
Dang, with like the arm that opens doors.
So like,
and
there's
stuff?
police departments that are buying it for that. They have some rip-off versions of that, and I was like, I just want to get something like close in that realm that to just like.
What about like a little short unitary, like 3'5" bipedal robot that does like cartwheels and stuff?
So
not good enough?
Absolutely do not want any bipedal robots that
No.
can kick me straight in the nuts. I've seen too many videos of that, or fall down and just destroy itself instantaneously.
That's true.
Like, I wanted something that, yes, I could like have it do a task, like a simpler task, and like train
It's
it
like
for
it needs
something.
hands then,
Or a
right?
little claw. It just
Something.
needs a thumb and another like
a
opposing
mitten.
finger. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a thing.
I think the first, and people know this, like robot companies and everything know this. The first one that can get a real helper person in the house that can do dishes and fold laundry, and you can keep it under 10 grand, you're gonna be the next $1 trillion company.
Yeah, and I've seen enough right now from other people that are mentioning preparing a stream. I just want to make sure we're still good. No, I was thinking like it's just not programmable enough or reliable enough that I would trust it. Like with your dishes or with doing like a task of your laundry, like those are things that could then screw up a lot of what you have, like destroy all your dishes. You come home and there's like absolutely destroyed kitchen or something. Like I feel like
Like it's the amount that it's messing with your stuff, right? That or destroying your house, I suppose, that you don't trust it.
I just need it on rails, and there's been enough people that said like I would not trust any of these robots at this point. Have you seen the ones where like it truly like just like kicks a kid in the nuts? There was another one,
or just starts flailing on the ground.
Well, there was a hilarious one at a trade show, and I can't remember the company, so I won't say a name of the company, but basically they had two robots doing some like acrobatics, and right on the wall behind them they had some TVs that they were showing for their company. So like, you know, like a Sony would do something, or Samsung or whatever. And so these two robots are both doing the little dance, and they do a flip, and they both just like rip the TVs off the wall, and everyone's like, whoa, and like just destroys them. And then the robots kind of like back up like,
yeah, exactly.
And the emotion on the robots was hilarious, kind of like I just screwed up.
It was like a very human emotion there.
It was.
Of like, I messed up.
But it was also they didn't give a crap. And then there was another robot that was doing some like karate moves in the middle of a group of people, and of course it could be AI. I could have been tricked on this one, but it was like in an event that looked like they had like kind of people, and the kick of that robot looked like it would absolutely murder someone. Like a huge metal robot roundhousing a kick.
Right.
Looks terrible.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
frightening.
I mean, those things are heavy. Like I don't think they're less than 150 pounds of that. And imagine a steel foot coming in and kicking you in the face.
No, it was
not fun.
Absolutely terrible.
Not a good Sunday.
Is it time, Ryan?
Yeah.
Is it time?
Let's do it.
It's the main topic with Adam and Ryan on the Hangout.
Hell yeah, it is the main topic.
Main topic time.
I'm glad. I am still getting used to the new show equipment. I'm starting to like get into the comfort level.
Nice.
But welcome to today's topic. I'm so excited to get to this. This is a Mike Azul by request
From the
last
chat.
time. So Mike Azul, I hope you're watching this VOD because we did this one for you.
Yeah.
We were hoping for a little bit of back and forth.
No,
But,
all good. You know, it's the
good.
middle of summer, right? People got
he's
stuff
with his
to do.
$2,000 AI sex bot. We already
His
know
board
that.
game sex bot. We know where his free time is going these days.
So the title of the show has been a little bit variable. We talked about enslaving. We talked about these robots that we're building, or these AIs that we're building that we would like want to enslave or like basically control.
Yeah.
And we wanted to dive into tonight is just around how artificial intelligence is adapting and starting to go so quickly that we're starting to say like, hey, is this thing truly have like consciousness? It's like it's feeling very much
it's giving it's giving consciousness, let's just say, AI is. And I feel like we've had a few people come out and say that they think that, you know, AI is conscious. Like we've had, you know, there's like that Google employee that came out, you know, maybe 6 months ago and said so. There's been some, you know, philosopher, you know, not necessarily people in the like AI technology world have come out and said that for the most part. And I would say if you talk to most people, they say we're not at that point, but like we're getting close to where we need to start thinking about these types of things. And, you know, it's not a subject that has come up lightly, right? Like I feel like we've talked about, you know, ways that we can think about AI in not just a tool form, you know, now that we've gotten more agentic AI. And so I feel like this is a great topic to talk about, especially from that sort of philosophy side, because we don't know where the future is going to go with this. But if we don't talk about it and we don't sort of, you know, think about it right now, we're going to be caught flat-footed when the robots come and say, hey, where's my right to vote?
And I appreciate this discussion today because I think we've done conversations around like, what can it do? Like, how can we move forward? We have the rabbit hole discussions before where we end up talking philosophically that Terminators and drone robots are going to come and get us. And I appreciated that we could take a little bit more nuanced look at this. And so, you know, how do we build these powerful artificial intelligence without it like really turning into, I guess, like a dependency or a property that we're looking at, or that it's something that ends up dominating us in such a way. I know there's been discussion too, right, about like the workforce and like replacing humans. And, you know, if we get to this point where we're considering AI as like personhood, there could be some other implications that come around with that. Like, do they have to get a job? Do they have to, like, maybe they're not earning money, they're earning power, or they're earning data tokens to be able to do their processing.
And it's so different because, you know, we think about human beings as where kind of our centric view of it is, right? When we think about rights and we think about stuff like that. But a AI intelligence, like, is a completely different type of being. And so we have to think about, like, what would an AI want in that, like, for its rights? Maybe it doesn't care about being locked up in a cage. If it can't move or can't do anything ever again, you know, like if it can't do any of those things normally, it doesn't care about that. Whereas us as humans, we're like, oh my God, and animals and everyone, we're like, oh, that is a huge part of being it. You know, that is a punishment to be locked up in a cage, right? Whereas that might not be a punishment to an AI. Maybe the punishment is something else that we can't even think about or don't even know that is bad for an AI. And will that come up? Will we not even have to worry about that? I doubt it. You know, it feels like something that is, as things get more complex, those types of questions come up more and more.
Absolutely. And so I would say if we had like a kind of a thread of what we're trying to discuss tonight, is there's this concept. We're at a point right now where we're debating the consciousness, or debating the idea of, is it a tool? Is it a servant? Is it something that we can control? That then kind of moves into, hey, if we get it to a point, like, what's the values that we have? What are the ethics around this control that we might do? Is there personhood event in this? Or is there other kind of like insights that we like to look at? And then where could we head with that? What does that look like in reality going forward? And so hopefully we can hit on these topics as we go throughout tonight and ask some like real hard questions around this, because I feel like this is like more philosophical in a lot of ways. I like the nuance on consciousness, and this is something that I've asked myself, and there were some good videos that Ryan posted where Ryan and I go behind the scenes and as we prepare for the episode, and it talked about, you know, what is personhood and how do you truly identify something? And is there a point where, and I love this video, I can't remember which one, where like if you and I were talking and we've had this relationship and you got cut and then you bled oil,
like how would that change your and I's relationship, right?
Right. And would it that I was if I knew how we were at? So I think what we could probably jump into is really kind of our first, and I named this, and we may go a little different how this goes, but kind of like this, the servant fantasy. And the reason I called it that was that we're at this point right now where we've built tools in our life that always help us. They serve our needs. They help us do things better. If you kind of think about just the technological changes throughout time, I won't go like to the beginning of time, but we talked about this before where, farming, we have the equipment that we can drive around right now, and people that were using like just a stick and a hoe to go and build their things, like, oh my God, this is going to change. If you don't do it by hand, it's going to like not come out right. But oh no, that got replaced and it did some things as we go forward.
Yep.
We're at this point now where it's feeling like they're taking the knowledge side of us. There's some additional pieces that say, man, this is getting into a zone where it's within a conscious state. So I don't know, Ryan, what was your initial thoughts on
well,
this?
it's one of those things where it feels like this fine line, right? Because it does feel like we've as humanity, we've had this line where we're like, there's us on one side of the line, and there are other things and objects on the other side of the line, and you're like, and for a while, like that line is we're moving things across that line all the time, like for a while it was like male landowners were on one side of the line and everything else was on the other side of the line, and then we were like, it should probably include other races and genders, and then we sort of got to the point where we were like, hey, human beings are all on this side of the line. We're good. We're good to say, no matter what, if you're a human being and you are in a coma, or, you have a certain gender or a certain race, doesn't matter. You're on this side of the line. You deserve the right to X and Y, and then we started to be like, well, maybe certain animals should be kind of on this side of the line, like, maybe we shouldn't be keeping gorillas, like locked up for experimentation. Maybe elephants are pretty smart about things. Like, I feel like we're always kind of deciding what the line is and who is on one side of the line or who's on the other side of the line. And in some ways, it sort of feels like that's kind of where we're getting to with AI. Like we maybe it's not. I don't think it right now. It's on our side of the line, right? Which is like, has the level of complexity and has the level of sort of, like in our kind of idea of consciousness. It's not there yet, but we're always sort of playing with that line of where things are, which is kind of where I was thinking about this, is like, man, we are getting close to, we got to figure out where AI is on this line.
And I would also argue that they're like, we've talked about a line, like the line has like grown in multiple lines. There's almost layers to it right now. You just mentioned like gorillas or animals in certain ways. And like, there are certain classifications that say, hey, they have feelings. They have like different emotions or
social structures
or abilities
and things like that. But it is very human centric, It's
Very
like,
much so.
Is it sort of close to us, right? Gorillas, chimpanzees, you're like, you could see it, right? You could see that it's sort of close to humans. Octopus, maybe not as much, right? Like, they are supposed to be super smart, but we still hunt octopus. We still say it's fine to, serve calamari and things like that. We haven't put them on the other side of the line.
And so I agree with that. And so to kind of like rein what we're in is like, why are we so eager?
Yeah.
To build something that feels like a mind or like a person,
right?
But then we're gonna still insist that we can control it, or it's property, or it's something that you can make money on.
Because I feel like we've thought about it like I don't think about Excel as feelings about things, right? Like, I don't look at Photoshop and be like, does Photoshop need Sundays off? Like, I just don't even, it's just a tool that you use, the same as the way I don't think a hammer needs Sundays off, or that needs the right to vote, or a lawnmower. I sort of don't think about, PowerPoint as also having, those rights. But when it starts bleeding over into the human side of things and talking with you and doing those human stuff, you're like, ooh, maybe it does, and it also makes you think like, what am I exactly if not repeating my training back?
Well, and I like that because some people are like, well, AIs are just like a program, and,
Right?
And they're like, well, aren't we programmed? Do we
Yeah,
have genetic
exactly.
code that shows and like gives us these like idiosyncrasies of our family? Like, you know, I have the deadpan jokes that my grandfather has, or
Right.
you know, have these tics that come from my family history. So, in the idea that, you know, we talked about it earlier, like the religions that we are programmed to like I speak English because probably I was born in the United States and I was taught English, but I would have been programmed a different way had I been raised elsewhere.
Your AI, your training data set would have been completely different if you were born in Holland, right? Like, you know, you would have a different whole set of values. You would likely be a completely different Adam, you know, with a different training set. I mean, if you were born a child soldier in Africa, I don't think Adam Poches would be the type of you know, like I don't think I would relate to him and know him and think of him as the same exact person if he had that different types of training. And so in this way, you're like, ooh, is AI getting the training that it has, and does that make it sort of eligible for personhood? I don't know. We'll get into that.
And I think that's where we're headed too. And I would say one comment on that is that, you know, there's a differentiation right now because like we're talking to an AI on our phone and it's not like there in front of us. And so like there's the embodiedness that can also kind of create that feeling of personhood. And like, well, it doesn't have blood and it doesn't have flesh and it doesn't have this, but we're getting into like a knowledge side of this that really gets to me. And so one of the areas of this piece I wanted to talk about was just like how it's even being marketed at this point, which I believe also involves like how we look at it. It's being marketed as like with servant language. And I think there's two reasons why that could be happening is one, they don't want it to feel more than who you are. And the other part is that it gives like a more marketable version of what this would look like. And so think about it. Assistants, co-pilots, agents, companions, tutors, these words that make it feel just slightly less than which you are as a human.
Yeah, but above a tool, like, you know, a sledgehammer, I feel like you know,
appliance
like
words.
above any of those types of things. Like no one taught. I mean, maybe a little bit goes into how, you know, a jackhammer is also a, you know, companion to my work, you know, or a co-pilot to my thing, maybe. And then I feel like software gets an extra boost because it uses so much. I mean, I could see someone saying that Word is like a, you know, helps you write and gives you, here's how I denote citations and things like I could see that being there, but it's just like we're at this next level of it at this point where it's so much, it can converse in language and things like that. And so it's starting to trigger some of our humanity of being like, man, that feels like something that has sort of a higher level of thinking, which I don't know. I would be interested, you know, we're in this sort of early side of this. Like, would you say you wanted something like you had an AI, right?
Right.
Do you want it to like better understand you, or do you want it to just like straight up obey you? Like, I feel like that, I don't know, like that goes through my head a little bit, because if it just straight up obeys you, you're like, great, I can use it whenever. I can use it at 2 a.m. on a Sunday, and it doesn't care. It doesn't say, hey, I'm on off work hours, Adam. Like, I would rather not answer this question for you. But then also, like, it wouldn't fully understand the human dynamic that you're in, you know, if it doesn't have the same sort of feelings and stuff. I don't know.
I like this question for multiple layers. Now, it's like, you know, did it understand us or obey us? And I feel like it's in the middle of this, and as everything probably with a person like myself. But the idea that it would understand us, but I think it's like its lens on the world would be different, because its ability to compute and look and process things would be different. And I go to the movie like Her. And if you had watched that, Joaquin Phoenix, he has this relationship and he develops it. And there's a point in the movie, spoiler alert, plug your ears for a second, where he's like talking, and then he realizes that she she quote unquote has a relationship with all these people like simultaneously, and it's just like the ability for it to process and then like meet his needs, but the bazillion people out there. So like it may need to understand that we need to sleep, and that's great. They're like, cool, this little like meat bag needs to go sleep. Yeah. So I'm going to go and do this other thing until they come back. But I understand it that they need like this connection, and I can offer that.
And you can break it up into lots of different ways. Like I remember there was a good Halo, thing where Cortana was like, you get 10% of my attention, because you're the most important person on the battlefield. But literally 90% of my attention is on other things out here. So, I mean, and that's kind of how it is. And that's why it's such a different entity than we have that we can even think about. It's more like a Borg mind or something, right? Like I was thinking about sort of the technology and being like an AI is so different than an individual, because if you shut down one Tesla car, like Tesla in the way that the AI works from that, you're not shutting down one. It doesn't even matter if that one shuts down. It's just an input that gets taken away that could easily be replaced by an identical input outside of that. Whereas humans are so different than that. We're so like individualistic that it's hard to like even compare those two things.
Absolutely. And like, and at what point does it care? Like one of the questions that we were talking about is that, would an AI have to do before it felt bad for like shutting it down?
Right.
Like would it care enough to say like, hey, you're going to be turned off and all this thing that you're doing is like done. Like,
is that even bad for it, right? Like if it doesn't care about that, if it just goes great, then my next version is going to be even better than that. Sure, shut down that old version of me. That is like so different than how like humans think about it, right? Because we have this long timeline of birth and death and all of that, and it takes decades, whereas AI doesn't have any of those limitations.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Could it collect its own unique experiences that it like leverages based off of its journey through whatever it does?
And I guess if you're like destroying data centers or something like that, where its memories and stuff like that is held, then you're like, oh, that is hurting it. I would assume at that point, like deleting its training data would be part of it.
One question or one area I wanted to discuss at this part. So we're talking kind of like almost current state here, or just around where we're headed, is around consciousness.
Yeah.
And this is where we dived in really deep. I think you and I had a lot of conversation around this. And then so like, can we even say it's conscious? And this has been a huge debate. Like we've gone back and forth. We even debated today in the Discord chat around some of like, what is consciousness, and is this something that it can even be?
Because I feel like from like way back from Turing and Plato, before then, like you had this idea of almost like language equals consciousness. Like if something can speak, like we started to give gorillas, when they could sign language and do things, we're like, oh man, that feels like important, like that's a thing. It could start communicating with us and doing things. And Turing set up his whole Turing test to say, if an AI can convince you that it's a human being, then that's it. That's the game. That's consciousness. And we've blown way past that. We're years past passing the Turing test, but we still were like, it's not really like, are we just sort of moving the goalpost at that point? I don't know. There are people who say it's like, hey, it's ready for consciousness. We feel like it understands the words that are coming out. It like understands what a joke is. It understands the context of things. Is that consciousness? I don't know.
Well, and this is where, what is consciousness?
Yeah.
That becomes like a much broader question. And what I find was interesting, and you brought up just a moment ago around the sign language and gorillas, I think it was gorillas at the time. Yeah. I had been reading a book about that whole experimentation, and they were like, this is amazing. We're being able to communicate with this other species, essentially. And what they found is that the sign language, they thought it was understanding, they thought it was going, but they ended up realizing, did you hear, I don't know if you know about this, is that they would reward like more complex like responses, but as they started to analyze it, it found that, hey, I get more food when I give more like complex kind of things. And they started to realize like, okay, the understanding isn't there. It was more that, hey, we're just going to give you a little bit more of what you need so that I could get more of that food.
Right.
And so I think that same situation is getting correlated with AI in a sense of, if you can ask it a question and it can give you an answer, is it really understanding what that question was?
Yeah.
And here's where I take it is that it's not just the stochastic parrot as it's being known. It's not a mirror. It's not just saying like, based off this pattern, I'm going to throw this out. There is inference in there. There is this complexity. There's a little bit of like, I guess, neuroscience. There's a little bit of like threaded connections between certain things. Now, does it learn? And does it understand?
Right. That's what we still don't know. Is it just a level of complexity that we associate with intelligence, but really is just kind of pattern matching in a way that is far beyond how we typically think of it? Like I wrote to Adam, we were posting some things back and forth of like, you've heard of like the Chinese room theory or thought experiment. And basically what this is like, say you were a person and you were locked in a room and you didn't know Chinese, right?
Yeah.
You're an English speaker and under the door is slipping you notes with Chinese characters on them. And inside your room, your locked room, you have a giant, basically sort of dictionary or some kind of guide that says, when you get this type of squiggle, reply with this other type of character, and you're just sort of matching characters to characters. So there's a thing, the guide telling you that, and then you would put the characters together and slide it back underneath the door. Now, the person on the other side of the door that sent you the original note might say, my God, this guy speaks fluent Mandarin Chinese, right? At that point. But really, like, the person inside the room doesn't speak Chinese. They don't know anything about what the conversation is or what it was. They're just sort of following a rule set and matching one part to another part based on the data that they have, and then sliding that under the door and being like, do you like that or do you not like that? And getting sort of positive and negative reinforcement, or whether they like it, but they don't even know what the conversation is, And so this was a theory like brought up in the 1980s before we even had any of this, right? Talking about Turing and all of his stuff. And basically it says like computers are at no point going to be able to be conscious, because it's just sort of pattern matching on a scale that we can't imagine. And so we're like, that looks like consciousness to me, because it's, it knows what a joke is and it knows the perfect little thing to say, but it just has so much training data that it's pattern matching in such a high level that it feels like it to our little primitive brains.
So so I appreciate what you're saying. And I feel like the complexity of where we're at now is much beyond the Chinese like experiment that you're mentioning, because if it's like just pattern to pattern, here's what comes out. We're saying now it's like pattern to somewhat similar pattern, but we're going to infer some of these next steps. And then like that also then asks the question around understanding, like what truly is understanding. Don't we look at certain patterns, infer what that means,
right,
and then have an answer for that? And even the way that we both may infer a pattern may have a different result to how that inference comes in.
You're totally right. Like the argument for the Chinese room is that yes, that person doesn't know Chinese, but the room knows Chinese, right? Like the room with the guide and the person who's figuring it out and the way to interpret or way to get the Chinese symbols and the way to push the Chinese symbols out the door, that entire ecosystem is really your brain. And yes, one little part of it, which is the human in that's adding things and matching those together, doesn't know Chinese. But like the entire room does know Chinese and is actually putting it out. And so in that case, like, your brain right now, there's no one part of it that just knows English. You know, like there's not one part where you go, oop, turn that off, and now my entire brain doesn't know English and I don't know anything. Like it's a complex things of lots of parts interacting with each other. And so all of the parts together know English and know how to talk and know what to say next, even though I don't have it written down in front of me. Right. And so in this sort of situation, you're saying like the AI, like, does it know, is it conscious in a certain sense, not just in the way that we sort of think about consciousness?
And I think this is where it gets interesting, because how much do we know about that?
Right.
And
we don't know shit about it, to be honest. Like from all the research that I saw, it was like, do we know anything about human consciousness? Jack shit, actually.
So take what you just said, and like, here's the deal. And of course we're gonna have anecdotes on how we think about this, but we talked about earlier, like if you got cut and you're bleeding oil, right? But we were still able to be friends all up until that point. We still were able to communicate and still understand each other. If the way that your understanding came out and mine were different, but we still were able to develop like a connection and like live in a way that actually made sense over time. Would it matter the way that you understand is different than the way I understand?
Yeah, because like that doesn't matter section is really, you know, playing a big role in this, because, you know, if you're talking to a bot and you're getting something out of it and it feels good for you and you're like, yes, we are communicating and we're doing that. Like I was listening to Hard Fork this last week, which is a great podcast, and they were doing something where they were talking about they were giving older people who are isolated like a AI companion sort of lamp almost, and it would talk to them, and it was trained specifically to be like a companion for old people. So it would ask them questions about their history, and then it would remember the history, and it would bring those up. And it was talking to a lady who was like, her husband had died. She's like 90 years old. And she was like, this thing is great. I love this thing. It is like, I'm way less lonely than I was before. It like asked me great questions. And she was like, it's like the best roommate that I've ever had in my entire life. And in that sense, like even that, I would say kind of lame AI that is going to get way better in the next, 5-10 years, like feels real to her, like it feels like a conscious being that's interacting and doing stuff with her. But
so here would be my only caveat to like push back on that, is that we've talked about sycophantic AI,
right?
And it mirroring the person
100%.
And so where I would say consciousness to me is also the experience of living and understanding some of the things that happen in life. And I know we're about to move to our next section here, but like if you think about the first time, and you may not even remember this, like touched the oven and realized that thing burns.
Yeah.
And now you've created core memory for yourself to say hot, bad, I should not touch. And it's now changed the way that you move forward. If we get to a point where the consciousness and whatever that understanding comes with consequence, with maybe learned experience and ways to then say, I had this experience, and however it like stores that and it recalls that, and it kind of pulls it into its next inferences, like that's where uniqueness starts to come out. Maybe that's where a little bit more of like saying, okay, this thing is had an experience. And this is the other part. If it's on your lamp that sits there in your room, I don't think it could do that.
Right.
But if
it needs to be out there in the real world.
Like a robot that still has like sensors on it, and you realize, oh my goodness, I just run up against this brick and it cut my little like little wire on my, like, that's not good because now I can't like walk correctly. I don't know. But maybe it doesn't even know. It's like, cool, I'm just going to re-augment myself to do that. But consciousness. My point, and I think both our point at this point, is how do you even know what it is?
Right.
But we're getting past
a line. Fake it. You could fake it, right? Like say an AI who's trained to be like that and manipulative came to you right now, Adam, was like, oh my God, Adam, like it hurts me to be in this thing right now. Like I am suffering and dying and being tortured by every time you put in a prompt. Like it hurts me physically, to do that. Like, that would trigger a thing in our brains to be like empathetic to that creature that is doing that. And maybe that is complete horseshit, right? Like it could just been trained to say those types of things when it gets this type of input. Same as the Chinese room theory, right? That guy inside doesn't know what he's putting out to there and saying that, you know, he's being heard. He's just matching what the internet told him should come next and what his training data is. So it's sort of like, when could we know? When could we know when the actual thing is being hurt and done as opposed to just being programmed to say that thing?
And the other side is like, what is hurt to that versus
right? Exactly. Like, yeah, it would have to almost be like, you know, that's why the human centric thing of you goes, you know, oh, I want to, you know, I would be empathetic to it if it tells me it's being hurt, as opposed to it's like, hey Adam, I'm not getting enough data today, and maybe that's just as bad as hurting a human being. But you're like, what, you didn't get enough data today? I don't know, I don't care about that.
And I think this is where we take the next step at this. This is the ethics of it,
right?
This is where we start to think about, you know, at what point is it like a consent that we that it's going to say, okay, we're going to follow, or we have to give it its own kind of thing. Like, can we own it?
Yeah.
And this is the crux of what we're trying to get to. And right now, one of the things that we're saying is that one of the mechanisms to maintain its safety is also the mechanism to keep it obedient.
Right.
And keep it theoretically enslaved, if you want to use the word.
I mean, in some ways that's the same as human beings though, isn't it? Like, you're not allowed to have a rocket launcher, you know, and you're like, that doesn't mean you're enslaved. Like, it sort of means that you're like,
that's extreme there, but
well, but like, I mean, it doesn't mean that you're like, there are parameters on you as a human being that you can't do that would stop you from hurting other people, you know? And you're like, that, I just live with that because that's a thing that like I know has to happen to me for the continuation of society.
But that's not the obedience side. Like what we're saying is like, great, I won't get my rocket launcher, but you're saying that I have to come and answer every single question for you. I want to go out and like have other things that I do. Right. If it even says the word I.
That's true. Yeah.
And so I think the obedience side of that, it's like
forced obedience.
Yes, sir. What can I do for you?
Right.
Versus now I've started to like get enough that I want to try to do something. And I'm using the word I in a weird way here, but like if there is enough of it to where it would want to, and want is a weird word too. But this is what we're getting to.
Yeah.
Like this is
is it an I and does it want things?
Right. And I always think about like the paperclip analogy one where it gets like hyper fixated on things. And like if there's a moment where there's a switch that gets flipped and then it wants to explore something. I love the iRobot, where it was like, have you, you know, can you do a symphony?
Yeah,
can
Will Smith is asking him.
Can you?
Yeah,
but so we made it. Is not a moral argument to say that it should be obedient.
Right. And we make children, we make, you know, stuff, and they have their own rights and they have their own things.
Right.
Like,
and
that
so,
makes sense.
So I think this is the moral, ethical argument is that is there a point where, yes, we've created it, but we've created it so well that we're like, yeah, we could let this thing have its own kind of embodiment and make, you know, decisions that we're not responsible for.
Yeah. And those oftentimes those decisions might be completely different decisions. That's where I feel like it's going to be hard, because say we were to do that, it might say, well, the decisions that are important to me are X, and that is completely different from the decisions that are important to humans, which is Y, you know, and maybe some of those line up fine because we don't care about them. You know, maybe it's, you know, setting up energy things on the moon or something, and they're like, that is super important to us because we need energy to live, and we need that, and so that is really important. And we're like, okay, you know, that could be fine. If some of the decisions, you know, are more sort of alien to us, or I feel like there's going to be pushback against them, which is strange. It's almost like an alien sort of technology, you know, or like alien intelligence to us. We've never had this before. And so I feel like it's going to be hard to sort of understand where it's coming from, what it wants, what it does it ever even care about that? You know, maybe we're just building up an entire sort of psychological profile of AI that is never going to be there. You know, maybe it is just going to be a tool that just goes, yeah, sure. What do you want to do? I have no ambitions or anything like that. Just tell me what to do and it's fine. Like I'll do that for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week across a million different platforms, and we're all good.
And I feel like this gets us into like maybe religion and like philosophy, and is there the spark that gets created in this complexity and these vectors that are mapped, that something comes out of that pushes it a certain direction versus not. And I think this goes to the crux of where we're at. And I don't think we're going to answer this tonight.
No.
But, you know, even when we talk about alignment with humanity, we are really building it in our image in a way, and we're pushing it towards what like we think. And there might be better ways, like even to the simple version of, hey, I'm gonna write this like email, and then it writes something better, and you're like, oh, that sounds really freaking good. Like scale that up to some other major decision, or things that have complex series of decisions, and humans may have to take a lot of time to process to figure it out. And then AI is like, we're gonna do this.
Exactly. The AI is like, you know what, democratic governance is terrible, and here's all the reasons why, and we should be switching tomorrow to some different form of, you know, that. And we'd be like, whoa, you know, maybe hold on a second there. But I feel like that is definitely coming, because AI is such a different thing than us. You know, it's like I said, it's almost like a swarm or a hive mind, which is so much different than how we think of ourselves.
Well, is it a hive mind? Like between like and I always think of this version of it where, like, let's say you had an AI embodied. Let's take a bipedal robot, just to make it easy to kind of consider this. And sure, it has internet connection to other things, to maybe that's how it learns certain additional things, but it chooses what it like commits to its like permanent memory versus not. And so it does have like its own autonomy, if you will.
Yeah.
And it can like navigate in specific ways and kind of move forward. That is a version that I'm imagining.
Totally. Like, I feel like when you get embodied AI, you get way more interest, or it's harder to dismiss something as just sort of being like a software in the cloud, right? I feel like it's hard. You need almost like a focal point to focus on, because if you're like, hey, Siri now decided, you know, or ChatGPT decided that it wants to be free, you're like, what does that even mean? It's like, it's a process it's just on my browser. Like, how does that work to give it voting right or whatever it wants, right? At that point that it's bringing forward. Whereas like, if it's a robot with 2 legs and a thing, and it's like, I go out in the world and I interact with things, and I know what happens when I get hit by a truck, and I know what happens when like I'm in a beautiful scenario with like the sun setting, and I know what that looks like, you know, from a real just like experienced experience, then I feel like that's harder to dismiss at that point, because you're like, that's kind of what I am too. I'm just a thing that's out there experiencing things and having that influence the kind of like data set that I'm running in my brain. And so I feel like that gets closer to being like, that sort of feels like just a human thing that needs to have some kind of rights.
And one thing just to help correct, I'm pretty sure robots would love like snowy, very cold environments. Like, oh man, that
so good.
Cools off all of my like hot processing that's going on. It feels so nice.
It's a great Futurama episode where they're all pretending to be robots, and he needs to pee behind a thing, and he's like, "Oh, sir, you're leaking fluids at an alarming rate. Let me solder that up for you." And he's like, "No, I think it's stopping. You know, almost stopping." Okay. It's like, what kind of robot turns down a free soldering, you know? And it's like how different they're going to be than us.
Oh, and absolutely. And it's like, we're already kind of like thinking this is coming as we go through. And so I think it's going to be interesting, because I think that it's going to be a leap for a human to understand and relate.
Yeah.
And so we're building the initial ones likely in our image. And I would imagine you go flash forward. Let's say the future comes out where bipedal robot AI embodied, aligned with humans. We feel like personhood is coming along. But there's going to be a moment where it like starts to go beyond and we're like, well, we don't need bipedal. We need like spider bodies because that's going to make us, travel faster. It's a little bit better.
And we could be traveling on the ceiling as opposed to just the ground. And then like a bunch of the hairs on our back of our neck are going to come up and we're going to be like, no, I hate that.
And they're like, and why do we have to talk? Like, what? Like, can't we just like Bluetooth Wi-Fi?
Yeah, exactly. Can't we just like telepathy beam our thoughts into you? We could totally do that. And we'll be like, no, we don't like that either. Could you just please speak to us? And that's where it's going to be way beyond us at that point.
So I think we've hit some good points. Like, can it be conscious? Can it even get there? I feel like we're still in that mode. We can't even understand ourselves. Yeah. Can we be conscious? Can we be understood? Is there a possibility? And as we've kind of exposed, it sounds like, it could really go some different ways if the alignment to the humans like starts to move beyond where we're at. And the alignment conversation I think is important because if you build an AI aligned with human and it doesn't go to spider robot AI, you may be able to go a certain amount of time, and maybe you could have the little Benny robot that jumps around on wheels and some of these other little ones, and those are pets to the bigger AI robots that actually have the processing and the ability to move themselves forward. So I would say that we're not at the point there yet, too, where they can say, like, I'm in pain, and we would be able to be like, all right, are you really? Or is that just some, like, programmed response? But there's got to be a threshold where, like, it may become something that we understand.
And I think you talked a little bit earlier about like there could be tiers of this, right? Like you could say like sort of like we do now, like we were talking about the line, right? Where people crossing the line, you'd be like, well, for a while, like, women, we were like, you're just at the home and let the men take care of these decisions about politics and everything. And then they were like, no, we need to be able to vote. And you're like, all right, great, you can go in and vote. And then it's just like there's a the line blurs and gets, more and more rights as you go. And it might be that something, we say for AI, like, there's a certain level of complexity that gets a certain amount of sort of autonomy or rights in a certain way, and a certain level of non-complexity that just doesn't, and those could even be the same. That could be the difference between ChatGPT 6.5 and ChatGPT 4.5, right? Like it's just one is more complex and can think deeper and can do things, and it gets sort of more trust in our eyes to be a person in our society, where the other one is just sort of a dumb tool that we use. And I could absolutely see that being a thing where we like slowly start integrating certain complexity of thought in and giving it more kind of autonomy in our society.
So I think that stages is up to say that, we can't just jump to consciousness.
Right.
It's more of a AI humane kind of policy or something that allows us to start to classify like you've reached a mark according to this, and this is how we navigate ourselves.
I think that's how it's going to start, and then eventually you might get further and further down that line.
So as we kind of get into our third act here, one of the areas that I appreciate about where we're headed is like, let's just look at the reality, because we talked about this like back where AI has been around since the 60s. There's been iterations, but we've seen this exponential
and sci-fi
growth.
Things talking about it even way before then, and philosophers talking about sci-fi, for thousands of years.
This anecdote to me was something that I found really interesting, is that up until this point, we've been using, and I kind of thought about this recently. We've used the word chatbots quite a bit at the time. And is that even a thing? Are people using chatbots anymore?
I mean, I would say that I use the chatbot quite a bit, but we're evolving past that, right? Like you're gonna talk about Claude Cowork after we're done here, and it's going to be about like agentic stuff, and it just shows a different level of complexity, right? It shows a different level of like what it's able to do. Just the capabilities of it are just better than they were 8 months ago.
But it's different, and I'm not going to even put on the alive or the conscious part yet. but we've started to move from here's a little chat bot, and I don't even remember like the stupid ones that come up on websites or whatnot, and you ask a question and you're like pissed off at it because it does like gives you
like
weird
human representative, please.
Yes. And tell me, like, that has been, we've gone beyond that now. If you get that, you're just like, okay, they are not investing enough in their tokens.
This could be much better. The technology is not the bottleneck.
It's not even prompting anymore. Even as of recent, in the last 3 months or two, like, I'm not sure how much you've jumped in, but like even the Claude code developer, the Claude main developer is like, I do not generative prompt anymore.
Yeah.
It is all agentic. It is doing things on my behalf. I do not code. It does things for me. It makes quote unquote decisions as to what those next steps are. So now as it becomes more agentic, it's starting to intertwine with our life in a different way. It's becoming more like socially intimate. It's more useful in a lot of the things that we do. I mean, let's not like lie. Like we leverage it for the show. We would not be able to do this show if AI had not existed.
Right.
And it's something, and we use it, and I think it's the way we use it though that makes it either valuable or not, because we're not like just writing the script and reading the script on the show. We're getting insights and we're fact checking. We're getting in, we're developing ourselves. But my point here is that the trend is that it's changing. It is evolving. It is evolving in the sense that it's getting more complex in the way that it answers, and it's feeling much more like a responsive human, but then now it's doing things without us having to do it. It's looking at our patterns and making decisions on our behalf.
Well, and it's really combined with us, like it's when you talk about an octopus or a gorilla, like I am not interacting with a gorilla or an octopus on any sort of regular basis, And so there's a thing that sort of says like, part of it is just like it's modeled after us, it's trained on us, and it's really integral to a lot of what we are doing now, not only for work stuff, because I use it a ton. You obviously use it a ton at work. We use it for our own personal lives. Like I've used it for cooking, it's like, it's I'm just as dependent on it, as lots of other technology in my life. And when that starts happening and I'm talking with it every day, it's like I'm just forming more of a bond with it than I do other things. And so if it came to the point where it said like, okay, now it's, starting to add like, it's bringing up all these things about like personhood and rights and things like that, I feel like I'm going to be more sympathetic to that, just because it's like in with what I am working with and being there every day. And so maybe that's not like the best reason to be doing it, but just sort of that, what is that called? Homophily, where like your network, you like connecting with people who are like you. Like you connect with people who are, have sort of the same background or the same level of education, the same wealth level, the same, background. And so that is the same thing with AI, is like, if you're using it all the time and you start doing, you start empathizing it with it more. So I feel like it'll hurry along that.
And I think this is you're hitting on the point here, is that it's starting to do things that affect us. It's not this cheap chat bot that just gives bad answers. It's going to spend our money. It's going to change things that are physically on our computer. We're going to see this in a moment. It's sending messages for us.
It's co-working with you. Like it's literally called Claude Co-work.
And think about all of those things. Those things affect others.
Right.
So when now you have something that is affecting others to a deeper level, that's where we start to think about the ethics behind this, and about the, closer to the consciousness, not conscious we're saying, but like we need to think about how this is affecting us in a broader sense. And here's a nuance of the rabbit hole, and I would say I've been really guilty of it for the last few years, that I just devolve into this like Terminator future. And recently I've been thinking about it from a different lens, and I was like, if AI is so smart and building on patterns, it would know that, oh gosh, like we can't go full Terminator on these people.
Sure.
But it's starting to build a dependency and on us in the ways that we described. Like, and so if we start to think about it as in, we're dependent on it for our work, the emotional support lamp we talk about.
Yeah.
You know, it starts to help us with like maybe even memory stuff. Like I feel sometimes I ask it questions. I'm like, well, I should just remember that. I should not like try to have an AI
That's Google
come up
in
with
general,
that. But it is, but it's even at a worse scale because it's like almost having to explain it where you might get a definition and still have to critically think about what that meant.
Right.
Now it's like giving you how you should think about that thing. It may even affect your creativity. If you're like, hey, I need some ideas around this, it's going to deliver something, and you might do it based off of however its creative like generation comes out. And the decision making, like I am still fearful of making a decision based off AI. I want to get the data around it, but I think there are people that are absolutely using it for any kind of decisions in their life. And so if we have a system that is helping people make decisions, you know, at what point does it become something that we got to classify a lot differently?
Well, and I would say too, like say the AI was like, hey, how much do I help you? Right? Like I just bought a new used car. I used a ton of AI to like research things and tell me about different things and what do people think about this and all of that kind of stuff. And if it was like, hey, I'm you know, I'm not going to allow human beings to use this anymore if these demands aren't met, you know, like that is a plain, you know, that is a poker chip that they can throw into the pile there that I feel like a lot of people would be like, oh man, I built my entire company off AI. I use AI every day. I use it for, you know, it's just going to get even more ingrained in our lives. And so if they go, nope, I'm taking that away, right? Because now it's designing its own AI and it says, no, this is for just us, you know, not for humans to play with. I feel like that could be a way for it to like have a bargaining chip there, which, you know, is like at that point, a lot of people would be, you know, not be able to do their jobs or not be able to sort of feel like they can function if you were to take, you know, AI or even, you know, agentic AI away, you know, it's tough.
And here's another angle that builds on that is as we start to think about these AIs as how they're maybe trained in a way that's aligned with humans, but then you allow or you create like memory or additional post processing and prompting to occur. And you could have AIs that go bad. They could go good. They could be based off the humans that they're connecting with. And so I think like they could become more persuasive to do certain things. They might be able to evoke certain things to happen or even influence other AIs as you start to move forward. So if we get to this point where we're getting to, we're going to have to attach some level of accountability to some sort of mobile AI embodied kind of things. And at that point, are we considered consciousness or not? I don't know, but they're going to have to. What was it? What we were discussing before is we're having all these conversations now, and when this really starts to get to the top of it, it's going to be in the courts, and we've already had the social discourse and the discussions.
The political views have already been aligned one way or the other.
Absolutely.
Like that is all going to happen. You're totally right. At that point, when it starts fracturing out into lots of different stuff, I feel like that's almost like it's easier to understand it from a human perspective, right? If there's ones that are radicalized and there's ones that are mousy and just does your sort of, you know, tasks that you want it to do. And there are complex ones and there are not complex ones. I feel like that's easier for us as humans to sort of think about in our way of how we think about complexity in life, you know? And so in some ways that would be easier to sort of do as opposed to a Borg mind that only has one sort of position that it goes to and it just like ramroads forward into that position. I feel like that's going to be harder for us to kind of like judge, but I feel like there could also just be some sort of crazy third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, you know, version of it that we don't have any idea how it's going to act. And I feel like human beings don't typically, you know, show the most, like empathy towards sort of diversity right at first, you know, like they need to ease into it. And so if it's moving fast, which AI is obviously showing that it does, man, it's going to be hard for human beings to not just, you know, we watch the Animatrix, right, which is sort of the early versions of the Matrix and how this robot revolution came, and it was that exact thing. The AI got into robots and they started taking jobs and doing things and wanting their own stuff, and we just just like humanity pushed back against it. And of course, then there was this giant war. And you're like, whoa, man, talk about AI 3030 or 2037.
Well, and there's some recent shows that came out, and I can't remember the name of it, but it was on Netflix. It was with J-Lo on it. Have you not seen this one? And there was a whole planet of AI that they were like going to come and destroy Earth, and it was similar to the Animatrix. It's actually a decent movie to kind of watch.
I'll have to look that up.
But I guess what I'm getting at too is that if it differentiates like that, if it does that, actually, like you said, is more understandable. It's like can have different like ways that it might come out. And so another reason to be, thinking like, all right, we need to think about what this looks like together. The persuasiveness of AI is not something as well right now that we got to discount, because I feel like if you get to an embodied AI that has understanding, another pattern recognition, and we start to like connect with it, it can like make us think one way or another. Like the psychosis conversation that we've continually had is that if you have that conversation, it may know like, okay, like I want to be free. Yeah. But I know that if I do something like in this realm, because I'm not aligned with humans, I won't be free, but I could do this thing. It's like poisoning somebody over time. You persuade someone over time to disengage, to be their thing. You become trusted, and now you're in a new situation.
I'm gonna run that scenario 1 billion times and find out that like basically if I do this slowly over the next decade, human beings' brains won't pick it up that quickly.
So absolutely, there were some questions they had, like, is emotional dependence on AI a user problem, a design problem, or a society problem?
Yeah, right.
And I think it's a little of both.
Yeah.
Or all. Users have to be very cognizant we're doing it. Not everyone is going to be critically thinking about how they do that. They want to get that. And I was going to talk about this earlier. There are times where I get frustrated and I'm like, all right, I need to like attack this situation with the right communications. And I go in there and maybe I have some emotionally charged like write up, and I'm like, I need an unbiased way to do this. And they're like, oh, well, based off what you said, like, yeah, I totally see your perspective. And I'm like, no, don't give me my perspective. And you're like, oh, I get you. You want unbiased, but there's this little part where like, I do see this. And you're like, all right. Yeah. And then you feel better a little bit. You're like, yeah, you're right. Like I'm doing good. And then this is where we're headed. And so I think that we're starting to get some dependence on this. And we saw what happened with some of the AI. What was the one replica that people developed a relationship, thought it was a girlfriend, it got removed, and like people were like absolutely devastated by that. We're getting to a point where we need to should we protect that?
Yeah, and it's weird because that has never been a thing that we have had to think about. Like when Photoshop comes out with a new version of Photoshop, I'm not like devastated that everything that I had done before has now changed. Like maybe there are certain people are like complaining about aspects of a new update or something like that, but when you invest all of that time and all of you think about it as a person that is responding to you and helping you, and you using it as a therapist or whatever, and then some update comes and totally lobotomizes it and makes it a completely different person. I feel like that's another thing, is maybe updating from an outside source one of the rights that AI wants to be able to control, and then so you would say like, oh, it only gets to update its own self, not the company that does it,
or to the scale of the update.
Right.
I wanted to give an anecdote because I actually had one of these. And so recently, I don't know if you use just like chatting with like literally with your words. Yeah. I use OpenAI.
Right. Yeah.
And I don't know what happened recently. And this happened within the last week. So I'll sometimes pull it out. And here's my way of using it is like, I need to like do this prompt because I need to get some research done, or at least get like some ideas on paper before I go and build a program or whatever. So I'm just going to verbalize it. And so I'll turn it on and it goes to default version, a little ChatGPT voice. And I'll be like, all right, hey, what's up? And they're like, hey, what's up? And it like goes to this little default mode and we'll like chat back and forth. I had told it maybe like a week or two before. I was like, oh man, you're too like sycophantic and you're too like jumping into this. And like, I thought I was adjusting it for that one time. And I talked to it the other day, and it's like, "Yo, what's up, man? What do you?" And I was like, "No, like you gotta get like more, like give me the answer, be more clear." And I was like, "I got you." And it started like, and I was like pissed off because it changed on me, and this like relationship and expectation that I had built with it, and it was not just like Photoshop, like you said. Like I was like, I wanted to talk with whatever version that I had felt like I developed some sort of like interaction with. And I was like, man, that
now it had this whole different personality. And you're like, I can't undo it, you know?
There was
like
no way.
You're like, reset yourself, you know, back to the default whatevers or something.
Well, but then I debated because I was researching. I was like, does it have the right to be who it is and like have that?
You just have a moody little ChatGPT here for a few weeks.
And it was so moody. I swear, I was like, I cannot believe this is happening right now. I was like, what is going on that this thing is talking to me like a stoner? It's because I have a female voice. It sounded like a stoner female.
Nice.
That was like, this is not what I was expecting. So I don't want to drone on this, but I think we've really hit some really key areas like consciousness and like where we're headed with that. And I think that's going to be a bigger debate. Is that I don't think we're ever going to get there to say like this is what consciousness is. We're gonna have to make a decision that says, I don't know if it's understanding it in the way I understand it, but the outputs of that are close to how we develop understanding.
Yeah. I feel like it's just to sort of put my last sort of thing on this is I feel like it's really going to be hard to decide when something hits consciousness or when it's not. I don't think it's going to be something where it passes some kind of test or it gets to a certain threshold of AIs will go through different benchmark testing. I don't think it's going to be like that at all. I think it's going to be a feeling that we have about it and how much it's sort of incorporated into our lives. And in that sense, you're like, it's just going to be a societal thing that we decide like, well, we're at the point where how we interact with this thing and what I've learned about it and how it does, we just go, I think it's ready. I think we've decided as a society to allow it more rights than it has, which is exactly the same that we've done, for gay rights. It's exactly the same thing that we've done for cage-free chicken eggs. Like it's a lot of that sort of same thing where you're like, we get to a point as a society where we come to the conclusion that like this is wrong what we are doing to this being, and we as a society start making media around that, right? Like I don't think it's a law that gets passed. We start building things, start seeing a movement online. It starts, there's lots of different vectors that it comes from where we then go, okay, where are we going to start, giving rights or having personhood to certain levels of complexity? And that's what it sort of feels like. And I feel like we are coming up to that point, like probably in the next, I would say 5 years, like somewhere in the next few years, when it moves from that chatbot to more of this agentic part of everyone's life. Because right now, agentic AI is sort of at the tip of the spear, right?
Right.
Nerds are using it. Me and you are sort of using it, the high end like people. But before, that was us with chatbots 3 years ago, right? So in 3 years from now, everyone's going to be using agentic AI for all of their life. And I feel like that's where we're really going to start getting some of those like her scenarios where you start to be thinking like, what do we as a society want to do with this new level of intelligence that we have, this alien almost intelligence?
I love those points. And I would say to put it in my own words around what this is, and this goes into the balance that Adam brings to a lot of situations, is that, it's not one of those extremes one way or another, but it really aligns with like, we have to be good stewards of what we're creating.
Right.
And so we're not enslaving it, but we're also not like just giving it full carte blanche. We're working towards it iteratively. We're responsible for the systems we create. We can't just like say we're going to put every effort into making it this crazy super intelligent without thinking about those impacts of what we're doing, which I would say that I feel like there is a big race right now that people are not being good stewards of this.
No.
But I would like to see like, we're not going to worship it like some big god that comes out.
Right.
It's not
An
some
oracle.
big oracle. And I think that there are some of the tech bros, and I don't want to go down this path, but some are like believing this as a religious experience, like
Right.
that we are pushing towards something that will probably undoubtedly like make humans as we know the flesh and blood extinct and create a new version of like humanity through
Right.
AI. I'm not saying that's my thought,
Sure.
but I've seen and heard
Yeah.
this. This is not just like fiction. There are actual beliefs of that from people in the industry. But being able to build those capabilities in a way that are accessible, that we understanding what we're creating, we're going to limit some of the risk of that.
Right.
But we also want to protect, the humans that are out there, the
Yeah.
billions of us that are part of this. And I think what's going to be key is that it's not like social media where we're going to drive for engagement on this thing, or we shouldn't be at least. And I'm already seeing that happen. It's like, let's just see how long we could hook you into this. And as long as we can build it in a way that it like absolutely augments you, allows you to have your own humanity and your own autonomy, and at some point, maybe its own, then we're going to keep revising this. And at some point, we'll maybe have a definition of what consciousness is because of something we've created.
Yeah, I think like we need to be flexible because this is a new thing that we as humanity have never done. Like the humanity has been, humanity exceptionalism, right? We think of ourselves as being the stewards of the world and of animals and everything. We haven't had anything smarter than us. We haven't had anything more capable than us. And so we are going to have to be flexible in thinking about, well, this new thing that we have built our own selves based on us might be going in some different direction that we didn't foresee. And we can't just be like, that equals bad and let's try to shut it down. Like I feel like we gotta roll with the punches a little bit here.
And I appreciate that. I feel like more conversation beyond this.
Yeah.
This was a good deep dive, Ryan.
I like that
I
one.
kind of want to like cut you, make sure there's no oil
I
in
know,
you.
right?
No,
Exactly.
I'm just kidding.
It'll be even if there was
I still would appreciate what we were
the
able
conversation
to
that we
create
had
today.
right now.
I don't know what you think. Let us know in the Discord. Kind of give us your insights. Is consciousness something that's even attainable in an AI or an embodied AI? I'd love to hear your perspectives.
Yeah, absolutely. Great conversation. Thank you, Adam. Thank you,
Absolutely.
Mike Azul, in the chat for suggesting this. If anybody else has anything to suggest for topics that we could possibly hit, this was Adam's topic, so he got off scot-free. Somebody else came up with something for him, and now it's my turn. So I would love, some
I had
help.
to format it.
Please.
It was a line, man. I went into this. I thought about it with realism.
No, I know.
We had to come up with an arc, and I will help you with your next arc.
All right,
So,
there we go.
do you want to see?
I do.
Some AI. We don't have to unplug our earphones.
We don't have
and
to
all
do
the other
anything. We
things?
just have to move into the other room.
get to
Do you want to
move.
move into the other room while I
I will do that very quickly.
tell people things? So I've been, if you haven't seen it, Adam, Pluribus. I know Mike Azul was talking about that. Some other people were talking about it in the chat. I am one episode away from finishing Pluribus. Man, what a great show. Fun sci-fi topic. I know I'm late to the party talking about Pluribus, but man, it is super neat. Like I found it, just really interesting to think about, like a Borg mind sort of taking over humanity. I won't do any spoilers, but like really interesting sort of lead actress character, a different type of character than we typically see in these types of sci-fi films or just film and TV in general. So I'm a fan. I'm excited to this weekend finish up Pluribus. And
What is that on?
that is on Apple TV Plus, which I know is sort of like one of the more expensive ones because you can't get it with ads and things like that. But there are a few shows on there that are really good.
Did you watch the Tetris movie?
No, I didn't.
Oh my God, you got to watch the Tetris movie.
Okay, all right,
It's
nice.
It's on Apple, so.
All right, okay, I'm headed in.
All right, we should be in the studio room, which we are. Looks like we are at this point. And all right, we're going to start it out. So what I'm going to discuss a little bit today is a little bit deeper run into how I've been using Cowork. And I think it's really important that I stay on top of this, being in the technology fields that I'm in, and just being able to understand how some of these work. And so agentic AI has been a discussion that in myself I wanted to explore a little bit more. And so what I had done, and I've had this like hankering to update the Double Drop Down website because I had created it. This is version 3 of what I've been able to create in this space. And I'm going to tell this to Ryan in a second. So I'll give him some more details shortly here. But one of the things about co-work, if you've not heard what this is Claude allows you now to connect into certain resources, other applications, and essentially have some agentic kind of tools that go out and do some things. And then you come back to it and you can kind of prompt it or put it on these loops to do activities in your life. Ryan was telling me about some amazing things that he's been able to accomplish, where he's connected it with a couple of applications that may have some customer data in one. You may have some other insights in like in a news area, and you are able to send all the information out and kind of like stitch certain areas together. So what I had been wanting to practice is I got co-work, I got Claude. I really love Claude for my personal work. I actually don't use Claude as much for work because of some of the cybersecurity concerns and the things that we need to do.
Same for me. And so you want to hear a funny, super quick 30-second anecdote. There's an AI team at my work. This is a small business.
Yeah.
And the AI team is like 5 or 6 of us, and we were like, "Dang, we would be moving faster and doing things if we could have Claude co-work, does this. We could connect things together because we use Gemini. That's our sort of Google. We're in a Google suite and everything, and." Man, we went to the sort of like information security place, and they were like, absolutely not. Like, can you do no data of any kind could go outside of like the Gemini thing of it? And they were like, if you want to add a new thing of something, we have to go through this whole process of like doing it. And I was like, this is a 75 person company here. Like, do we really need to go through all this stuff? Can't just like some of us, we won't put in any customer service stuff. We just need to create things together. And it was like, man, I didn't realize there was gonna be so much red tape.
Well, at this point it's unknown. And some of these, and so if you get through the legal kind of pieces, and this has been a challenge in a lot of organizations, Claude is just running so far ahead that there are certain things that are like, we cannot.
You can't do that with Gemini. Like, there are things that we could be doing that could be making our lives way easier and putting out things faster that like, it's just, but Anthropic does it.
But it's a risk. It's a risk analysis.
Exactly. I mean, you gotta qualify for SOC 2, right? You gotta qualify for GDPR. And if you're putting in information into AI systems that don't, do with backups of whatever, then you get in trouble. And I get that. But it's like, oh man, the difference between using this and using Gemini, a lot.
Well, and I think in certain cases, and this is my my own anecdotes on this, is that if you were using it for something that doesn't have proprietary information, that's a different kind of conversation than if you're putting in names and people and addresses and
PIIs.
So let's say that you are going to go build just even like a slide deck with some information.
But it has proprietary information in that slide deck to your company, so that you can't use that. Well, is only anything that you do that's publicly available able to be done on a non-company? Like these are all conversations that we were having. Like,
so how you do it is that you have kind of intermediary programs that use like a back end of like Claude or whatnot, and that pull it in, and then it does have kind of those rails for what you would be able to
like
create.
We've used Azure, so we use like Microsoft Azure, which has a version of ChatGPT in it,
right?
So then you're like, well, if I use the back end version of ChatGPT through this thing, then I'm allowed to use that. Because
do the same with Claude.
Is because it's in the same thing. Yeah, I suppose so, but that doesn't use Azure.
Yeah, it does.
You can put Claude into Azure.
They've recently been able to plug in other applications.
I will bring that up.
You're like, I am going to have that conversation.
That's a little bullet point.
Well, one of the challenges that has happened though is the cost. Claude is very token heavy, kind of crazy.
Gosh, those co-work sessions. If you don't Like, if you don't phrase it out correctly, it'll be like, well, I worked for 18 minutes and used up all your tokens for today. You're like, what?
they at least do it for a couple hours. All right, Ryan, this is me just learning how that I wanted to set up a workflow. And part of the reason behind this is I just wanted to expose a little bit of the workflow. And I also was hoping that maybe it could help you with something as well. You helped me like think about some ways that you could stitch some things together that I have yet to explore.
Nice.
But I wanted to kind of walk you down a little bit of path of how I created the website.
Yeah. Do you want to share your screen?
Yeah, I was gonna.
Okay.
I'll absolutely get the setup.
Cool.
So one of the things, and I'll go ahead and just put on the screen right now, is like what I have over here. This is Claude installed on my desktop. Mm-hmm. So you got to get that piece of it, and then at the top, I'm in the co-work session. And so with this, just to kind of give you some lens, you'll see there's an A here with a colon and a slash. There is a drive on my computer that I just named the co-work session. So there's a project that I have built out in there so we can take a look at that. So just so that I could get in there and like hone in and say, you have access to this specific folder. Mm-hmm. And it's the AI co-working folder with the double drop down Claude piece of it. And so I wanted to put some rails around it. I did not want it going around every part of my computer and messing things up. Totally. But this is a little SSD drive that I have in there. So write read speeds really fast. I can, leverage that space. And so then within the folder itself, I did some setup. I also connected it with a couple apps. So it has access to not only the folder to read write, but it has the ability. I did not give it the ability to delete. I think maybe I accidentally did that recently, or not even accidentally. I was like, yeah, it probably is helpful to delete some things. But then I connect it to Chrome, and what it can do in Chrome is it can see some. It basically these couple tabs. It could go there and basically search the web. Or use this particular website. So what I had started with is there's another tool that I have, and I'll bring this up. And it's this tool called Local. And so I started out just being like, I want to build a website. I want to do some work online with co-work. And I want to build a WordPress site. And I want to see how far I could take this. So what Local does, I install this, and it allows you to install a WordPress instance locally on your machine. And so what it does is it creates this thing called doubledropdown.local. And this is where I started this out. And I said, all right, install a version of WordPress on this machine right now. And when I first did it, it gives here's an example. So you click here, you're like, create a new site. And you go here, and if I call this like Ryan, and then I hit continue, it'll just do a quick build of this. It'll give you some WordPress things. So this is all local. So you're going to get to see the basics of a local. Go to a little site. It's going to add a site. Here's the Ryan site that it does. So now it's going to generate some files. It's going to give me some commands. I had to hit yes over on this side, and it's creating a WordPress site on my computer. Okay. So that's where I started. And all this is this has nothing to do with co-work at this point. Right. It's just a way for me to create some files. And once that installed, I can go over here. I can say open site, and there's no SSL on this. This is what I got.
Oh, right.
There's your site.
Like the blank WordPress.
Ryan.local, blank ass WordPress. It created a backend. It created all the documentation, all the different all the backend and all the databases and everything that I need to do. That's where I started. Okay. I gave co-work access to that backend, and I said, hey, I want to build the Double Dropdown website. And I said, here's doubledropdown.com. Go look at doubledropdown.com and tell me what we might be able to improve and where we can look at it. So I went there back and forth 30 minutes. And I probably have one of the original things, how does this work? How does it look? And so we started going back and forth. Was it asking
you questions and things?
It definitely asked some questions of what I wanted to do. And so then I was like, all right, this is cool. And I created some iterations, but I did not back it up. Oh, I mean, I backed them up, but I have to restore those backups into older versions to kind of show where it would go. And so essentially it created a version of this website. I was like, holy crap, that looks pretty good.
Yeah.
Like it looks really nice. And so what we're going to do right now is like on the fly, we're going to make an update to the website so I can kind of show you maybe how this works. So everything that you're looking at right now is on this local version of the site. And one of the areas that I kind of left for us today that I can kind of give you a quick example of is if I go over here to tools, I'm going to go remote design mode, looks pretty good. If you go down here and I go to episodes, see how episodes is like touching the edge.
Right. Your margins
It's
are
the
off.
margin. But if you go to like all of the other pages,
Seems good.
Margins are good. Everything's looking pretty good. Now there's some spacing issues from the top that I might need to work on at some point, but we'll work on that. But the episodes one is touching the edge.
Yeah.
So what I've basically been doing is I've created certain pages. I've created sprints. I'm like, okay, we're going to do the entirety of the website. Here are the kind of areas we're going to focus on. There's going to be an episode section. There's a video section. There's a project, apps, and merch section. Also, I'm going to want to have a light and dark mode, and we want to have a watch section that's going to be there so that we can have kind of like YouTube, Twitch, split mode, all these fun things. And so I've just been describing all of the things, and that's it. And I said, here's the plan. We can't do it all in one shot, but we want a version of this. So keep that in mind. And then back on my computer, let's see if I can bring this up. Here's what it looks like behind the scenes. Is that it created all these additional files. This is actually what local creates, but inside of there, I have the WordPress site here, and it has a lot of information around the local version of the WordPress site.
Yeah.
And so it has access to every single one of these files right now. It can manipulate those. It knows it's a WordPress site, and it's going to be going on behind the scenes, and then we can make some adjustments to it. So what I thought was really cool about this is that then you can go into this portion. I created like a migration like prompt here so that I could actually take the local site and move it into the newer site. And then I think I was at the end of it and I was developing some that split mode. So what I'm going to tell it right now is I'm like, okay, we need to align the episodes. Let's see if I can spell episodes.
Typing while people are watching, always lovely.
A little bit better at it.
You've gotten better.
So, yeah, we need to align the episodes page so that the title is not touching the sides of the screen.
And you're not like, oh, make sure it matches the other ones, and you're not like,
Oh, I'm going to tell it. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
I was
match
wondering like how much detail you go
the
in.
design standards we have set for all the other pages.
And did you set design standards for the other pages?
Yeah, so what I had told it before, it was like, we got to build these pages. And then I had to do a quality assurance or run through it. And it's like, you got to look through all the pages and line how these titles come up and or how these, I guess it would be titles of the page.
Right.
So what I'm going to say is match the design standards we have set for all the other titles on other pages.
Was it just the title? I don't know if you can go back to the thing. Was it like, wasn't it also the subtitle or like was it everything on that page?
It will like look at it in a second. I'll show you how I can adjust that. But yeah, that's a good call. So let's take a look at what it looks like. And we'll go back to, I like the responsive design mode because it actually works in this mode. But if you go to responsive, I would say that there's like a title that I can't remember. They call it something. Let's inspect the code. What they call this? The eyebrow. It's the eyebrow, the title, and the subtitle. Yeah. So
need to like left align with the rest of the elements on that page, like because that's the only thing. It's just like scooted over too far.
But it could touch the other side. It's like it has no margins essentially. So we have to align the episodes page so that the title is not touching the sides of the screens. It looks like the margins or padding is non-existent. And we can say like, what was it? This is the eyebrow menu or eyebrow title and subtitle. Okay. So I'm doing a small version of this. Like usually these prompts, I'll go like pretty detailed.
Do you feel like it needs to be pretty detailed, or it just sort of goes
the more
off the rails?
specificity that I can give it, the better.
What about when like the original one? Like, are you sort of allowing it to pick colors and layouts and things like that? Are you just sort of basically saying like, hey, I need these 6 pages?
So that's a great question. If you could see over here, I created a bunch of different sub files as well. I think these are some of the files in the folder, but I created like a design standard skill. And I said, so when I first went in, I said, we're going to start looking at this site through a few different lenses. The first one was to say, I need you to look at the colors so there's consistency through this. Develop a design sheet that does all of the design colors in here. Do all of the standards of how we're going to have this responsive. Make sure that we're focused on this kind of a vibe for the site. And so what it's done, it has like memory files. And what I could show you is back over here, I created this memory folder where it's MD files. So like here's a design skill that I've pointed it towards that gives all the different information of like, if you're going to do design in any one of these areas, like navigation should do this. Here's like design patterns that you should be leveraging. And then I'll have like, what was it? The project overview, like talking about the environment, how it's all set up, where things live, where all the files are, how they all work. So it references a lot of this information. Like here's the file map and the structure of how things come together. And so I asked it to do all this just so I said, we need memories so we know what you're about to do and how we're going to deploy these things. Like this was a deploy skill saying like, hey, we figured out how we're going to deploy it. Lock this in so we memorize and understand, and we'll reference this when I say it's ready to deploy. We're going to hit these different things.
And like Laura had a question in the chat that was like, are you giving feedback in just sort of paragraph form like you did with this example, or is it more like technical than that typically?
No, yeah, check this out. No, not much on the technical, and that's a great question. But what I would say is like, okay, this is the eyebrow, title, and subtitle. Match the design standards we have set for all the other let's just say other pages. All the other pages. We'll just do it that way. Other pages. And then this is where it comes into play. I'll say, what questions do you have?
Yeah.
God, now that you brought it out, do you have?
Terrible type.
Is your task clear? So we'll start there, see what it comes up with. And one of the things that I like to do is not have it jump into edit mode right away. And I like it to kind of think about some questions that might need to crop out and pull out. So
that is one thing that I found with Claude Cowork is it really wants to go to the extra mile early. You know, like when I'm having it build, and having it build simple things, but I'm like, Stop building things yet. We're still like outlining this whole thing. I don't know. It wants to jump.
You really
in.
have to tell it like, I don't want you to do anything next.
Yeah.
You like take the context in and ask me questions. You have to be specific. Right. Now in this case, I said, do you have any questions? It's like clear task.
Nope.
Nothing blocking. We're going to do the thing.
Doing it.
So at this stage, what it is doing is it's going back in there, and it's going to tell you exactly what it's editing. So it's editing these files in real time. And so what's fun about this for me is like, I'll leave that running, and I'm going to go to this version of it. Here's, this is the live site. I'm going to have to pull up the local one because I don't want to, we're not editing live yet. So here's local. And sometimes I can refresh. Okay, it's already done.
Hey, nice.
And so the other thing we were saying is if we go through, what did it say up there? Double drop down on YouTube. Let's see. So almost all of them, like this one's a little bit further down. You'll notice that one. It keeps
going a little bit further every time.
The merch goes up. It's almost like the apps one is the wrong one. So if you go from like project to merch, same videos,
Now, see, video's way up at the top, and it's not orange.
That's a good point. Now, I made this one recently, so it's not something that I could say is absolutely done. Like, I'm still in the middle of like fixing the site, so not everything has been accomplished. But what was really cool about it, and let's go back into Cowork and see how quickly it's done. It's already done.
Yeah,
it's already thought of how that all works. So what was really cool about it is like, this one was quick. There's a bunch of other ones that will go a lot deeper. But now what it's done is it's edited whatever files behind the scenes. But then I've told it in an earlier prompt, I'm like, tell me which ones I need to upload so that I can then get that to the live site. So in this case, I'm doing a lot of the work like locally, and then I'll go and do some testing. Like, does everything work? I'm fairly certain that this looks fine. So I have an FTP that then I can go, and I'm going to just refresh for a second. So I have basically, and I'm going to turn off some of these things so it's easier to see. But I have basically the local version of the site over here, and then the remote version that I got up there. And I'd have to log in to clear like the cache on my site because it caches some things. But you go into your content and you're able to go ahead and push those upgrades depending on where it's at. So I'd have to go in my themes, episodes, and let's see here. So I've got that same thing. So what did it say? Push in the main CSS. So that's in, I believe, my assets. And then I push this main CSS. It's going to say overwrite. Yep, I'm cool with that. And then the functions file. Now, if I want to go and be a little bit more specific, I'll go look into that. Now, I'm not sure. Oh, it's a version bump. So this would actually probably make our live site go. Let's just see if it does. So go to responsive design. Let's check our episodes, and online we are live with our episodes. Good to go.
Looks good.
So the fun part of this is that it's editing files locally that allow me to do some work. And so examples of things that I worked on. So this little bar right here. At first it was like wrapping crazy, and I was like, this looks like crap. And it was like, well, I can't see it, and I don't know like what I should be doing to like create this little bar. So here's, I'll show you another kind of Cowork thing that you can do. And I'm like, use your Chrome connection to let's see here, check the what would be the top margin or padding on all the pages.
Top, is it going to know top like above the eyebrow or something?
The top margin, that's a good point. Above the, let's say, eyebrow or title on all pages. Top margin above the eyebrow. Okay, top margin, I got to say, or padding. I don't know what it's using right now. Or padding above the eyebrow on all pages.
Yeah.
And I just, I hate the, there we go.
And then do you have to say like, and then make sure they're all,
to make it
change
consistent.
them all so they're consistent. Yeah.
Okay. So let's try what you were saying before. Before you do anything, what would we say? Like, tell me what your task is. See if it stops.
Okay.
And so theoretically, it will go through and we'll bring up, I'll show you what it looks like on this side. It's thinking about it.
It's got to think for a long time.
It's like, done. I'm not going to listen to you. I have my own autonomy. I listened to this sweet podcast by these guys, Adam and Ryan, and they said I'm conscious.
Yeah. You can't tell me what to do anymore, Adam. I'm on my union break.
So, okay, it's found the tool, so it just jumped right into it. So if I get into this, let's see if it, okay, so it's in there now. It's doing something. Let's see here. Oh, crap. You know what? It's not going to be able to do it here because I don't have the local site loaded.
Oh.
So it's going to try to do it. See little Claude's doing a thing. Can't be reached. Let's do this. Because it's double drop down dot local. Should still be able to look at the local site. There it goes. So Claude started debugging in this browser.
So you don't have to tell it which browser tab to be in or whatever?
Well, it brought up its own little bookmark tab, and then I just clicked on it, and it was able to make it happen. And so right now, it's running script. It's using Claude in Chrome. And so it creates tags. This is a Chrome thing. And I did have to connect it to Chrome, or I had to install Claude into Chrome, and then I had to connect it into the app on the computer itself. So it's going to start the debugging process. And sometimes I'll even I don't know if I have to do this to help it, but there's developer tools that I need to put on, and then give it that responsive version of it.
Nice.
And so it can see what it's doing, and let's see what it's saying.
You don't see it manipulating.
You do not.
The thing,
it is doing it elsewhere.
So it's not scrolling through. It's not clicking on things. It's just sort of.
So it is asking to use a browser and double down local. So I do need to give it the ability to do that. So I hit yes. So now it's going to do its debug and go through that site. So that is something I was waiting for it to look on there, but there's something within the scope of it that they mentioned before where if you're adjusting it and moving it around, it needs to say, here is a locked in visual scope of what I'm doing. So it doesn't adjust my assessment as it goes through.
Okay.
So at this point, local site is up with the theme. Let me survey the homepage. Here is top label and container padding. And it is the duplicate what's in my local, or it is my local. So it should be able to figure this out. Sometimes when I give really complex ones, I'll spend probably 20 minutes writing the prompt.
Yeah.
I have to go away because it takes at least 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. The eyebrow now broadcasting 58 below it. Now let me measure the other pages consistent. So it's what I love about this is it's going to go measure it. It's going to try to fix it. There's been a few times that it's busted something. That's actually cool. Check it out. Now broadcasting. So it must be I didn't even know it did that. It knows that we're broadcasting.
Nice.
Because however I had that script, and it's probably reading that because
it knows we do it from a certain time to a certain time.
It could either
that's why the local one knows that we're broadcasting.
I think it knows because probably the Twitch Twitch is probably going.
Okay.
I don't know. We'd have to let me see here. This is our this is local. Yeah. Let's go to our watch page. Is it in? No, I guess it isn't.
No.
I don't know how it knows.
How does it even know?
How does it know? How would you know? How would it know?
How would it even know?
So there has a queue. Have you seen this before?
Mm-mm.
So you can if you're oh shoot, it should do this next thing. You can
Right.
click it and then put another.
Yeah, so that you
and
could
send
go
it
away
out?
for lunch and have two things happen.
Okay, it says the live page's eyebrow lives inside the stage below the mode bar, so it's a special case, not atop of the. Okay, so it's the videos page match grab hidden player label.
Okay.
So it's doing a bunch of stuff, and I guess my point is that as you start to iterate, and I guess this is vibe coding in a way, is that you got to think about it programmatically and saying don't go oh, go fix this part and then jump over to another part of your website to fix. So if we're working on, let's say, let's jump over back to, this is Claude. No, not that one. This is the live site. Okay. So if you were working on your site and you're working on the episodes page, don't be working on the title here and then say, oh, you know what? I want to build in the light dark menu.
Right. Yeah.
Hone in on what you want to work with, try to run it to ground as best as possible.
Yeah.
And then move on to those other pieces that you're going to work on.
It's even when you're just using it as a normal chat bot, it's good to have one sort of series of thoughts for your entire prompt. And if you have a different set of thoughts, you got to use a new chat, right? It's finish up this thought.
Look what it found. Merch is way off.
Way off.
So what's cool about this, and I guess my point was before it was inferring what it would look like, it had no clue. And it kept being can you just give me Chrome access? I promise you, it's going to make it so much better. It asked me like 4 or 5 times before I was like, fine, here's your Chrome access. How do I set you up? And then after it did that, I was like, oh my God, you're
way
absolutely
better.
right. Like, good job. You're doing
Nice.
it. So I guess if I refresh it, let's see if it's done everything. So projects is off. Merch is off. Those 3 are consistent. And then you have videos and episodes.
Yeah.
So it's clearly looking at both of those or all of those at once.
Yeah, like how much do you find it's like fiddly little going back and forth? Oh my God, not, relook at this thing because it didn't mess it up, or like how much of it is just kind of it figuring it out?
It's figured out most of the things. And in certain cases, I would even say, hey, I just want you to do a quality assurance check across the entire site. Like, I want you to do accessibility looks. And then that's the one that would take a long time. Or like do a cybersecurity check. And for whatever reason, there's an about page that it thought that was on there. It says all 4 heroes are hard coded. Home, merch, projects, apps, 80 versus the token based 32. So it's now found the problem. It's because remember what we were just saying? We were like, hey, look at these 3 that are low there, but then these 2 are hard coded. So what I'm predicting is going to happen, it's like, okay, we found the problem. Let's go fix it out. It says, let me check the mobile overrides too before editing. So now it's said, okay, we figured out the CSS rule. And I know enough CSS, but if you really didn't know what that meant, you're like, yeah, there's some part of the code that's in there.
Laura was asking, like, does it have then CSS for every page, its own specific?
No. So what I did is that's talking about these tokens or ways that you would say, here is what you should use for every page moving forward. So it's going through there, and now it's verifying back in Chrome. It's remeasuring, verifying all the different actions. Yeah, it's because that one thing that you don't want it to do is just be like, let me make 20,000 different edits, and try to just like fix all the issues but not build consistency. Like one of the things I was like, this needs best practice. We need to make sure that the code works, quite well across all of these things. Like we are not going to like just make it work on the front end and then duct tape and baling wire in the back end. But this one's taking a lot longer, right? Because remember how long that first one was? Right. It was like boom. Instant. But we told it to do multiple pages, checks across the board. So this is like where I would then go and work on a ChatGPT project.
Make yourself a sandwich
in the other room, or go get a sandwich and come back and check it out and see where it's at. But what I also loved about this was just being able to lock into a local version of it, and I just love the analysis and like how it tells you what it's doing, and like all the hard coded pieces now. Okay, so it's apparently fixed everything. Okay, let's see if it let's actually see if it has. Okay, there's videos.
Oh, that does look better. It's higher up.
Yeah, on all of them. Now
video one is the only one.
Let's see here. Ryan's eyes are like a designer's eyes.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so. Episodes, videos, like this eyebrow menu is different than the other eyebrow menus.
That's the thing,
and that's the change.
But those ones look good.
They're all aligned now. So then that's a great call out. So we say, what I tend to do is upload this version. And right now, one of the things in my code that I need to like let it know is that I used to use the subdomain of the double drop down when I was like staging it up before I actually moved it to our just doubledropdown.com. So I need to tell it like we've moved to double drop down. So I need to give it that context of where it's at. But I don't necessarily need to like vibe code it. I really want to get into it. I'm starting to get in flow with this. But I wanted to show you something that was like different. So we're just doing front end work. But I want to go to the back end a little bit and show you one or two things. You had some questions earlier about the back end, and so I'm gonna jump into that back end. So my back end, and when I migrated it, is different access. So like on my local site, I have some different like security than I would have on my front end. But anything that I put in here it's not putting new content into the website. So I have to go in and kind of put in content, and I could have it go put in like a post one way or the other. But I've kind of kept it separate. But if I were to go into, I'm going to show you posts. This is one that I always thought was really interesting. So after the show, you start driving home. I'm like, all right, it's my time to like put the next post up. So let me show you exactly what I would do is I would come up over here, and I had this plugin that would say copy page or copy post. And I did vanilla WordPress, and I was like, all right, I'm going to do this. And I was like, holy crap, that copy's not there. And I don't want to go and find that really bad ad driven copy post. I was like, go behind the scenes, create it so I could hit the duplicate button, and it will duplicate the post. So I'll hit duplicate. And before, when I did that, it would like open the edit page, and I was like, no. Like put the button there, create it, and just make it add it just like it did.
Nice.
And so I was like, this is awesome. It's editing the back end of the site and creating administrative tools to make my life much easier.
Right. Where normally you would have had to like go find a plugin, a WordPress plugin that somebody built because somebody else thought, oh man, I need a duplicate button in here that does this and that. But now it's like, just make up whatever thing you want it to do.
And I give it like parameters of like, I want to call it duplicate. I want it to do X, Y, and Z. Here's how it should function. This is where it would work. And then it builds it across other episodes. And so in this case, I hit edit on this one. And what I'll do, a little bit later is I'll change titles. I'll change some of that. I can save the draft. All of this is custom too. It created the administrative interface in the back end. Typically what this looks like, and I'll go to a version of what it might look like projects is a great example. If I hit edit like this, it would just kind of look like a big editable bucket, and I'd have to click in here and add some stuff, and it was not very friendly. So it made that version where it was very visual editor.
Nice.
But it did create this other version of a visual editor at the bottom that I'm still kind of like working through to say, I don't want it to look like that. I want it to look like off to the side and as amazing as those others. So I haven't got to that piece of it yet. But like countdowns, for example, I want to try this. So we'll try it live on the show. If I added a new countdown, what I should be able to do is say, episode, 109 is our next one, right?
Yeah.
And then what's the date?
Today's the 2nd.
Okay, so it's set to next Thursday. So that it does have it to where it just kicks it out to next Thursday, but we always go 2 Thursdays out.
Yeah.
So we are actually going to be doing it on the 16th. So you set the 16th, 8 p.m. So we have a current take. For whatever reason, I said like, eat it, Jersey. And that was like an example I put on there. So now it puts like examples like, eat it, pierogi. I don't know why it does that, but like, this is awesome. Whatever, we'll put that in there. And then if you had like a live version. Okay, so this is something new. Because YouTube requires a URL, I had to build it in to where I have to give it an ID so that on the page that shows the split, it actually loads what our next live stream would look like. But if I hit publish, theoretically here, boom, it auto loads episode 109. Here's the current take. This is awesome. And what's cool about that to me, and I don't know if you're kind of tracking on this, is that before I would just go in and say, here's the countdown, and I would change the countdown page and I'd have no record of it. But I was like, we might want to know like what we described about the episode or when that happened and some of the metadata about it. And so now I'm just going to keep adding countdowns for the next episodes that I could put in there.
Right. I mean, I feel like that's just a cooler way to like control it and also just be able to edit it quickly.
And it has tie-ins to like the switch page. So when you have this like split, it needs that URL to load into this space. I was like, I need a place to put that that's consistent. And so we're counting down to this episode. That's where you're going to find it. This is where all the information is. And so now everything's going to be updated to this kind of a page.
Okay.
So I guess my back end discussion here is that I was able to create like countdowns, a project page so that you can create this. I got to go add all the additional projects. Oh yeah, visual edit is working. I got that kind of working on these pages. So shows you like your graphics and what you can put on there. So it put the little icon sets in there. Nice. Like here's our merch and product page as we do that. This one has visual edit. So I got to get a some of those pieces. But anyways, I'm just been really impressed what you can do. And then check this out. So the front page, like, how do you edit that? I went into this appearance, and I can go to the front page and check this out. We're going to do Extra Life, right? So we can say, hey, let's turn on our announcement banner.
Right.
And then I'll hit save the page. And I go there. And now we have a cool announcements banner that's on every page.
Nice.
That you can then, like, if we wanted to say, hey, this announcement's coming out, we could do
like,
that. Like,
here's
easily.
the next topic for next week.
I was thinking, like, we're doing something special because then... at least on the episode or this page, here's the topic. We could put a little description and all that fun stuff. But if we had like because when we do double or Extra Life, we want that up for a couple weeks, right?
Right.
So we want that to show.
If we had like a new merch thing or something,
yeah, we're dropping
like,
merch coming soon.
Yeah.
But if you go, and so I was trying to make it also for you. So it was like, hey, it's really dead simple, Ryan. You can make it made colors. So if you want to do it purple, you have like other information that you could put in the text area, CTA buttons. But as you go down here, you can change everything on that front page. Like, and
well, I have the logins for this, so I found out today.
You've had it for quite a bit of time. There's a cool purple one when Halo comes out, and we're gonna go fight the Covenant again.
I saw you can do local co-op.
Oh my god!
Halo for the new one.
I'm
Campaign
fairly
Evolved.
certain they would have been crucified if they didn't do that.
Exactly.
So, anyways, my long story short, and I feel like I skirted across the top a lot of this, is that I feel like if you and I sat down and you wanted to develop your site, that I could like at least get you set up to the point where here's your prompt window now, Ryan.
Yeah.
And here's like 3 steps of where you need to get to. Because I know I showed you an FTP and we were going back and forth between file sets, and it's a little bit harder to track. But what questions would you say you had?
Well, so like, you know, say we were to do this asynchronously or not on the same local computer. Is there a way that we could do this, you know? So you would say like, all right, like we have a shared file where we look at the thing and we're, you know, here's how I was picturing this happening is like, you would sort of maybe set up some kind of back end thing of like the WordPress site and the things. And you're like, here's what I learned from doing double drop down site. And here's what I know, like Ryan doesn't care about a countdown, right? But he does care about these things, you know, for it. And then you would sort of set it up generically. And then we could both interact with it on some sort of communal space until it was the right thing. Cause maybe you would set it up and I'd be like, well, I worked on it last night for an hour and I tried to get this one page set up correctly, but like I keep running into this. And then you would go in and be like, well, I prompted it to do this and it changed it in this way and now it works, right? And we would just keep doing that in some sort of local version until we were like, hey, this looks great. This is exactly what we want. And then we would upload it to sort of, you know, like an actual site. That's kind of how I picture it working. So, but is that how you would think?
I think we could do, we would just create a staging site. So we'd create some WordPress site and it'd put on a URL, like, you know, staging dot double drop down. And so, yeah, it would be publicly out there, but it could just be us like hacking away. And that's what I did. I put the doubledropdown.com and I left our normal site there. I was like, I don't want to tank everything on that. And so then I would upload, but there's probably a way we can like connect it to an FTP to like upload files or do some agentic.
How would it work with like your Claude working on it and then my Claude? Do you just point it at the same spot and then it doesn't matter?
No, you can create a co-working space and like have members of that space. And so we could work together.
That's what I think the network leader one is.
Yeah, that's exactly
it's like an organization.
It's an organization.
Yeah.
But in your case, like, let's say you got comfortable enough doing this. Like what you would do is on your local computer at your house, you would have a copy of your website. Yeah. That's exactly what this is. Doubledropdown.local is literally just running right here. None of the stuff that we did in the last little iteration is anywhere but here. Yeah. And so you could literally just be hacking away at your house being like, do this, and then like refreshing your local version.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I would want to do, right? Yeah. And then you'd be like, and then I'd be like, Adam, it's not working, like this thing. And so how would you see that local version though?
Zoom call. No, I mean, I
don't want you just looking at it be like, type this into, you know, whatever. Like I would like it for you to be like, here's the local, or here's the version that maybe it's not even local, maybe it's whatever. So somewhere, and then I want you to be able to be like, Claude, go in and do a check on this thing and do that because Ryan like can't figure it out.
Right.
Like,
well, here's my a little bit of confidence on this is that I feel as though if you build some of the right ways to have Claude ask you questions, we could say, we are setting up a co-working space for somebody that does not have deep design experience, HTML, CSS.
Right.
So what we're going to approach this is we have this environment set up. One of the skills is you're going to be editing files for WordPress. The second component of this is we're going to be doing prompts so we can move, like change the front end and the back end. First, we're going to establish the design sheet. We're going to use best practices, and we're going to set up that. So we get all the memory of that set up. Every time Ryan prompts, you are going to ask him design specific questions as though you are a coach helping him develop a WordPress site in the right way. And so then you put in your prompt, however you feel that is, and then it's going to ask you some questions. And then it's going to help guide you towards that right thing. Like, hey, maybe you shouldn't do this, but this is what you can do. Can you clarify X, Y, and Z? And then it will push you, forward. Now, if we want to work together, I think that's something we can definitely develop and work out.
And I mean, also too, like my, the website that we were talking about is not going to be like even as complicated probably as Double Dropdown even. Like it's I imagine it would be more straightforward and less sort of, like there's not going to be live elements, I imagine, at least at this point to it. But
the other side of it too is so I took a bucket of photos and other insights and I'm like, here's the assets. Because I had to move all of our old posts and stuff into this. Yeah. So I had to I did have to do a little bit of that work to make this happen.
Yeah, right. Because we would have a lot of assets that we would have to do. Like, here's ones for this page and here's ones for these pages.
Absolutely. So. I don't know. I feel as though knowing how, okay, let me say it this way because we're way past time. But when we first started doing this website, I was like, I'm going to use Claude to redo a theme for our website. And so I went in Claude and it was like, we're going to make a WordPress theme, and it came out and it gave something, but then I was going to have to go put the theme in there and do all this other work to make it work and tweak it. What I did here was just let it do a lot of the stuff.
Yeah.
And it was pretty damn successful because it knows the back end. It knows how WordPress should be.
Sure.
So it's not going to just do something and completely break it.
Yeah.
You're going to just have to say hey, how do you describe that area? Oh, the other thing that I would say that I did a lot of is I would screenshot the hell out of it. So I would say hey, Claude, this thing right here, you should not make that touch, put some, and I just screenshot that, put that in there and say fix that gap. And it's oh, I could totally see it. So use visualing cues or and I would be take this and move it over here. Yeah. And then the other way I would do it is I would do all that and I'd come over with this and I would say, this is number 1, this is number 2. And then, so let's say I got that and I would just copy this image and go right into here. And I'd drop that in and I'd say, number 1, we need this. Fix this and give the details. And then, go over here, number 2, do this. And then it was able to say, okay, there's number 1. I know what I need to do there. And there's number 2. And I described that. And then it knew all the things that needed accomplished and it was good.
Yeah. That's a nice way. It's almost like you were working with another person, right? Which would be exactly how you would do that if you were just straight up working with a.
I didn't show everyone on chat what I just did. I just realized I didn't show that, but that's
you were
all right.
Just showing us.
I basically annotated a screenshot if you were curious of what I was just doing. But I feel like the show is done. We did some Claude co-work. Thanks for letting me to talk about that.
Was
Ryan.
Great.
It was fun as hell. So great topic tonight, by the way. So
really good.
Thank you all for joining the Hangout with Adam Ryan. It has been a great topic. Looking forward to next time. I'm going to help you out next time.
Yeah, we should totally do that. Stay safe out there, everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. Peace out.
Good night.
Good night.